Tensei Shitara Slime Taken, WN. Chapter 41, Predator. Note, I am playing around with the syntax. Translator's Corner, cast, an English clown and a French Pierrot. Clown, Pierrot, can we really continue this translation? Rimuru is clownivorous. Pierrot, don't worry. Even if I have to sacrifice you, I'll continue the work. Clown, but, the Japanese word for clown is Pierrot. So, you're going to be the first one Rimuru eats. Pierrot. Clown, speaking of, have you given the landlord the money? Pierrot, that evil man, constantly threatening to raise our rent. Clown, did you tell him some dark joke again? Pierrot, no. Heavens forbid. Clown, I wish they actually would. Pierrot, I just remembered another great joke. What do you do if you see your landlord buried up to his neck in cement? Clown, call an ambulance. Pierrot, call the cement truck to finish the job. Clown, I can see our rent going up. Forest Disturbance Arc. Chapter 41, Predator. If it were the usual me, I'd be freaking out about how difficult it would be to win again the Demon Lord Orc Disaster Gel Muto. The yellow aura coiling around me I can easily cut through with my sword. But receiving the Butcher Knife Meat Crusher would probably send me flying. But that's to be expected. Even Shin, who's stronger than me, lost in a contest of strength against him. Moreover, even Hakura, who far exceeds me in sword skill, could not damage him. So I again try to land an attack while darting around at high speeds. Checking from every angle, trying to find a weakness. I know it's pointless, but I see no reason to stop. Even if he lands a hit blowing me away, I just resume trying out attacks. Confirming my own weakness. Thinking about it, my main forces consists of 5 people. Including Shina and Kurobi, that is. They have all received one of my powers and exceeded my own abilities in them. Ranga's Black Lightning. Benimaru's Flame Manipulation. Shina's Analyst. Hakura's Perception Acceleration. Shin's Herculean Strength and Body Strengthening. Sui's Magic Perception and Special Skills. Kurobi's Researcher. In every skill they exceed me. I can only be called strong because I have every skill that they do. If we fought one-on-one and I went all out, I think I could win. However, if all 5 gather, I would probably lose. And yet this orc surpassed all 5 of them. Never being able to land the finishing blow, they were bound to run out of magic energy and perish. So even if I fought the orc fair and square, I could never win. Right. Even if I fought fair and. Why are the Oni's skills stronger than mine? Hakura is stronger because his sword skill level is so much higher. That much is perfectly understandable. But what about the rest? Actually, are they really stronger than me? The answer to that. In the first place, all my abilities I have gained from monsters. Since they are not skills I was born with, I need to take time to properly understand them. Just like having a license does not necessarily mean you can drive a car right now, and certainly does not mean you can win against a professional driver. However, there is a skill I have had since the moment I reincarnated into this world. It is a skill I have had from birth. One that I can freely manipulate. That skill even I have nearly complete mastery of. Thus, I order. I permit you to control my body. Move it as you please, great sage. Received. Switching to battle mode. And thus the response to the previous question. Demon Lord Orc Disaster was bewildered. Just as he had intended to cook and eat the 5 strong demons, another one had appeared. A boring monster, he had thought. The monster's magic energy was certainly high, easily surpassing that of the other 5. However, the monster had continued meaningless attacks, each one just as weak. One's even inferior to the 5 before him. No matter how often the monster would have attacked, no damage would accumulate. Thus, the orc did not feel threatened. Thus, just when he had designated the monster as a good meal, the constant onslaught of attacks suddenly stopped. And, she took off her mask. And the orc saw a beautiful young face of a silver-haired girl. What is she planning? The moment he thought that. Zaisu. His arm, elbow down, was cut away from his body. And where it used to be attached, a dark flame burned him. And when he looked, his enemy, with appearance of a child, held a melting sword engulfed in a dark flame. Enemy? Yes, that was an enemy. He had considered her food. Now, however, was different. There was an overwhelming difference with the presence now before him. It didn't matter that his foe's weapon had burned away. Her abilities were so high that she didn't need it. Having met an enemy for the first time since evolving, the Demon Lord Orc Disaster's body tensed. And another strange feeling. How strange, his arm had not started regenerating. Confused, he looked at where his arm had been only to find the dark flame still burning and sealing his regeneration. Anger burned in his eyes. Cutting his arm off at the shoulder, he had it regenerate. And he started swinging the butcher knife meat crusher with all his might. That small child cannot withstand even a single hit. However, the seemingly unarmed child casually lifted her arms, produced a sword out of thin air, and received the attack. With the same sword that he had thought was burned by her skill. And when the butcher knife came in contact with the sword, both were engulfed by the black flame and disappeared. I must go all out to devour her. The Orc Disaster's aura swelled, causing shockwaves on the battlefield. Filling up his fists with his aura, he attacked. His enemy, too, armored her fists and repelled his attacks. He saw magic bullets flying at him. Dodging those, he responded with Gaki no Koshinenbyu, Death March Dance. Colliding with the 7 bullets in the air, his magic bullets continued on. They were strengthened with starving ones and had a corrosive effect. While she would probably not die from this, she'd take some damage. Just as he had thought that, she stood up as if nothing happened. And a new armor was now covering her. His attack was probably deflected by that armor. It was true for him, so maybe his enemy was also in the middle of evolving. I hunger. I want to eat her. The Demon Lord Orc Disaster thought. The 5 before had not mattered, all he wanted was to eat the one before him. He grabbed onto his enemy. Since he was stronger, if he fought long enough, he'd eventually crush her. Just when he thought that, his leg was crushed. A roundhouse kick landed into him, causing his body to fall, but still he wouldn't let go. Releasing the yellow aura, he had it envelop his enemy. One of the effects of starving ones was to corrode and devour his enemies directly. And as his enemy's life dwindled, it would become his nutrients. I want to eat her. His head filled with that one though, he directed his entire being into corroding her. And, his enemy having given up struggling, gradually succumbed to. Things proceeded just as I had planned. With the full support from the Great Sage, I was able to use the skills to their full potential. A never-before-seen optimized form of combat. I can even use black flame manipulation now. Moreover, body armor had changed into full armor transformation. It further strengthens my equipment. Skills I had previously hard time mastering I now easily control with the help from Great Sage. However, it is still hard to outdo your fundamental limitations. The longer this fight continues, the stronger the Orc Disaster may grow. Even if I know how to use my skills, it's not like my overall proficiency with them has increased. The Orc Disaster as well has just evolved and has poor control over them. Thus, this advantage is clearly temporary. Which is why I must end this quickly. So I plan to lead the battle to a state where I can quickly overwhelm him with a skill I am superior at. And everything went according to plan. The Orc Disaster had begun corroding me, intending to devour. However, I also intend to devour you. I am a slime. My basic abilities are Dissolve, Absorb, Regenerate. My regeneration ability is similar to his. However, the slime body is naturally resistant to corrosion. Thus, I had planned from the beginning to eat you in this manner. I made him believe that my body had melted, and used that to envelop him. Slowly moving up the arm. And by the time he had noticed, it was already too late. This was the standard method of combat for the slime race. No matter how much he rages now, he's already been covered by me, his attack nullified. Pointless, you must think. You pride yourself in your regenerative abilities, and my attack will have no effect? The battle has become a stalemate. I try to dissolve him, but his regeneration prevents his death. At the same time, my regenerative ability negates his corrosion. Each one attempts to devour the other like the Ouroboros. The one who eats the other first, wins. Simple, isn't it? I had planned this in order to win. Rather than depending on skills I have yet to truly master, I decided to depend on my most fundamental ones. The power that I have. My slime abilities dissolve, absorb mix incredibly well with Predator. Thus at the same time as I began absorbing and dissolving this orc, I also activated Predator. I am a Predator. Orc Disaster, the power that you hold, starving ones, is certainly strong. However, you are a scavenger. Eating anything and everything is certainly amazing, but it is my skill that specializes in hunting down and devouring prey. And while we have both been eating each other, I will devour your ability first. Using my ability, Unique Skill Predator. My skill can analyze the abilities of living enemies, whereas yours only of the dead. This moment has decided the battle. How much time had passed as we attempt to eat each other. But believing in my victory, I focus on predating him and I cannot lose. I have eaten my brethren. I cannot lose. I must become a demon lord. I have eaten Gelmuto-sama. I cannot lose. My brethren are starving. I cannot lose. Eating until we have our fill. Thoughts poured into me. Are you an idiot? I don't know what you're on, but you've already lost to me. But, I cannot lose. I have eaten my brethren. I am sinful. So I will not lose. It's pointless. Let me teach you something. It's survival of the fittest in this world. You've lost. So you die. But, I cannot lose. If I die, my brethren will be burdened with my sins. I became sinful, so that they won't starve, for that I would do anything. I will become the demon lord. So that no one starves, I will devour the hunger itself. That's right. I am Demon Lord Orc Disaster. The devourer of worlds. And yet, you're still going to die. But rest easy. I will devour your sins. What? You will devour my sins? Yeah. And not just yours, but also those of your kind. Mine, ours, all our sins. Aren't you greedy? That's right. I am greedy. Can you relax now? Once you have, just go to sleep. Ah. I cannot lose. But. Sleep, huh. I feel warm. Greedy one. Your destination is hardly tranquil. But, you who have accepted my sins. Thank you. Now my hunger has finally been fulfilled. Demon Lord Orc Disaster. Named Gelmuto. Just now, his consciousness has finally disappeared. Confirmed. Demon Lord Orc Disaster has disappeared. Unique Skill Starving Ones has been absorbed by Unique Skill Predator. I have won. One who always starves could never have won against me who knows no hunger. And, I open my eyes. Burdened with the sins of his entire race. I have won. Sleep well, Demon Lord Orc Disaster Gelmuto. My declaration resounded across the land otherwise silent. And at that moment, the goblins and lizardmen shouted for joy even as the orcs lamented in despair. And thus, the orc invasion has been stopped. Based on his consciousness that had been flowing into me until now, Gelmuto was in fact the cause of this incident. Furthermore, he was in fact supported by an unknown number of demon lords. That, however, the orc lord had learned before establishing his self, so was rather unsure about it. But I know enough to stay vigilant. And beside, I can't just leave the orcs as they are. The main problem has yet to be resolved. The following day. History will forever remember the birth of the Great Jura Forest Alliance, and the conference where it began. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tensei Shitara Slime Taken, WN. Chapter 42, The Great Jura Forest Coalition. Translator's Corner, cast an English clown and police officer. Knocking on the door. Clown, 1 second. Let me finish the balloon animal. Opens the door. Police, good evening, would Kanzaki Yuuko be available? Clown, who? I am sorry, I know no one by that name. Police, According to our records she should be living at this address, who might you be? Clown, I am a clown. Police. And what are you doing here? Clown, I live here. Police, Sai, if you happen to remember or meet Kanzaki-san, could you please call me at this number? Clown, oh. A business card. So is being a police officer your business? Police, it's my job. Clown, don't worry, officer. Leave it to me. By the way, would you like to hear a joke? Police, sure. Clown, what do you call a clairvoyant midget who escaped from prison? Police, what? Clown, a small medium at large. Police, ha, that's pretty good. Clown, by the way, if you don't mind me asking, why are you looking for Kaizaki-san? Police, it's Kanzaki, there have been a few unexplained incidents at a hospital she worked at, and we need to bring her in for questioning. Forest Disturbance Arc. Chapter 42, The Great Jura Forest Coalition. The war ended. I fought a truly strong opponent. Perhaps, if he had finished his evolution, I probably would not have a method to defeat him. It's because we had fought now that I could win. I'd much rather had fought him before he had evolved. Though he had evolved, I am rather fortunate that I defeated him. But more importantly, right, I've gotten another unique skill. Well, though I actually haven't gotten the unique skill Starving Ones, I did absorb its potential. That is, my predator has changed into gluttony. Analyzing the skill made me want to seal it away. Nope. It's too dangerous of a skill. And while I was thinking these things, somehow my power feels as if though it's boiling. My wounds are healing faster. Have all been restored already? Yeah. I heard such voices. As I had thought. It's the effect of gluttony. Its effects are. Solution. Changing into unique skill gluttony has added the following effects. Decay, the ability to decompose the target. Ability to add decomposition status effect. There is now a chance of acquiring an ability after consuming only a part of a monster's corpse, random. Supply, whether a subordinate or not, you can now grant an ability unto a monster with whom you have a relationship. Limited by the target's inherent magical energy. Food chain, it is now possible to acquire skills from your subordinates, all of them. These three have become your power. Is what it said? The 5 original abilities of Predator stayed the same, and these 3 were added. And along with that, my stomach capacity seems to have doubled. So does this mean that I can now use Benimaru and Ranga's skills that they've gotten from evolution? Solution. It is possible. Seriously. So whenever they get stronger I get stronger, and the opposite is also true. How terrifying this power had become. Though as you'd expect, I can't share knowledge this way or transmit magic. Of course, proficiency I also need to raise on my own. Daily effort is important, after all. But seriously, what an absurd power I got my hands on. As expected of Orc Disaster. It's a shame I couldn't eat the clown earlier, but I did get some spare change from him. Particularly, through pure luck, I have gotten flight magic. I don't need incantations to use it. I can fly around just by willing to do so. Well, I'll slowly practice with it, and along the way learn to fly at supersonic speeds. But more than getting my hands on unique skills and such, I was able to optimize Great Sage and further integrate all my skills. For example, I had thought that I can't mimic all monsters at a time, but I was wrong. And if you're wondering about Devil Transformation, my human version has acquired a new strongest form. This too I will carefully research later. This all aside, I did just mention that the war has ended. The battlefield was filled with happiness, sadness, and despair. Now then. I think it every time after a battle, but more troublesome than the war itself are the reparations afterwards. The day after the Orc disaster was exterminated. In the center of the marshes, in a temporary tent, the representative of every race has gathered. From our side came I, Benimaru, Shin, Hakura, and Sui. Ranga is lurking within my shadow as always. I am in my slime form, sitting on Shin's knees. Since I had shown them my true form when I defeated Orc Disaster, there is no need to conceal it now. From the Lizardman, the head, guard captain, and guard vice captain, Gable is imprisoned for treason. Even if they are parent and child, insubordination is bad. Though he's an idiot, he does have some amusing points. And since it's not the time to discuss his sentence, we'll just leave him there for now. The orcs sent the one remaining orc general and 10 clan chief representatives. They were all pale, depression visible on their faces. The reason for the previous chaos was, indubitably, the orcs. No matter how hard anyone tries to pin all the blame on the Orc Lord's manipulation, they were clearly not blameless. And it is because they understand this fact, that their expressions are so dark. According to what Sui had gathered, they didn't prepare that much food. Through cannibalism and the effects of the unique skill, they were able to advance while starving. Now that they have lost the skill's effects, they can't possibly eat their brethren. Their rather unfortunate situation made the atmosphere in the room even heavier. They are fully expecting to be demanded to take responsibility for the war, but they also know that they can't possibly pay reparations. As in the first place, the main cause for the war was the perpetually starving orcs and their leaders who could do naught about it. Even considering that their numbers have decreased, there are still 150,000 of them. There's not enough food to feed them all. And the fact that even with this many troops they can't continue combat simply emphasizes just how cornered the orcs are. If they did not have the starving one's skill, they would have all perished from hunger. Though there are 150,000 of them, that also includes women, children, and the young. It was a mass exodus of the orc race. The cause was a severe famine. The magic continent is a land with fertile soil under the protection of the demon lords. Many powerful demonic beasts and demons inhabit it, but thanks to the demon lords, it is safe. However, there was a price for safety. A steep tax. Those who wanted to live on fertile lands had to provide a large amount of crop. Orc, who reproduced quickly, worked in the mines and toiled the fields, and were necessary to the demon lords. However, those who could not pay the tax were immediately killed. The demon lord never lends a helping hand. Aiming for the abundant resources, many monsters attack. Those that have not paid a protection tax are not protected. Thus that land inevitably becomes dangerous. The fertile orcs, even if the majority of them were killed, would soon enough restore their population to needed levels. Though there was a need to control their number, the demon lords decided that the extras would die anyways. Now, thanks to a great famine, they could not pay their tax. Thus, losing the protection of the demon lords, they decided to flee those lands in search of a safe haven. While beset by hunger, the Orc Lord was born among them, but until then they would never fight anyone stronger than themselves. And thus wandering, they have made their way to Jura forest's outskirts. Around that time, a devil named Gelmudo offered them a hand. Oblivious to his machinations, they decided to accept his offer. And thus, following his directions, they plunged Jura forest into chaos. The conference began with a heavy atmosphere. Hakura presided over it. I had originally asked the Lizardman's guard captain to do it, but he refused. That role is too much for one such as I, he said, and turned me down. And since this wasn't something I could delegate to the defeated, I imposed, asked the most fitting man, Hakura, to do it. Hakura had declared the conference open, but no one said anything. Everyone was looking at me. How annoying. I seriously hate conferences. Well, it can't be helped. Before we begin the conference, I wish to share the information I have gathered. Listen, I exclaimed. At my words, everyone's expressions hardened, and they fixated their gazes on me. And then I conveyed the information I have gotten from Sui and Orc Disaster. The cause for the Orc uprising, and their current situation. The Orc representatives, not expecting me to bring these things up, stared at me with wonder. There are a few who shed tears listening to me. They were fully convinced that they'd all be executed without a chance to explain themselves. Then my story ended. And giving Hakura the signal, I continued the conference. Ahem. Now then, let's confirm the casualties. And thus the discussion started. Lizardman's head discussed their casualties. Listening to his report, the orcs hid their faces and stayed silent. Now then, Head Dono, do you have any demands for the orcs? After discussing the losses, the discussion proceeded to discuss appropriate payment. Though I've never experienced an actual war before, so I wouldn't know, but they probably have the winner demand things from the loser. I couldn't prevent the conversation from going this way. Nothing specific. This victory was not wrought by our strength. We were saved by Remura Dono. Abandoning the right to reparations, the head thus replied. Not like they could do much in the first place, though. All right. Let's let the orcs speak now, but when I had just looked at them. Please pardon my interruption. Please allow me to compensate for this incident with my life. Of course, I understand that it is not enough, but I have no followers to add. Orc Generals calls out, falling prostrate before me. He desperately pleads /. I have become a B-rank monster, and gained quite a lot of magical energy, so please forgive the rest with my death. Is what he says. Not that I'm planning on that, but that's not the problematic point. Damn it, conferences are annoying. Let's just do this my way. Wait. Remura-sama has something to say. Hakura intervened. The orc general shut up, and looked at me. The rest, as well, quietly waited for me to speak. Just the atmosphere that I hate. So this is my first conference, so I'm not sure I can handle this well. Thus, I'll just say what I think. After that, I want you all to discuss my words. Having said that, I proceeded to discuss my thoughts. First, that I thought that we should not pursue the discussion about the orcs' sins. Next, that I wanted to continue the alliance with the lizardmen. And finally, that I wanted the orcs to join that alliance. And those are my thoughts. I bet you have many things you want to say, but know this, I will not permit any punishment to befall the orcs. That is because I have thus promised to orc disaster. I will bear all their sins. If you got something to complain about, let me hear it. So I declared. The orcs stared at me amazed. In contrast to them, the head asked a question. We are completely satisfied with what you have said. However, we do have a question. What is it? Now that the war has ended, why do we need an alliance? About that, to explain. And thus I explained that point further. My plan to create the Great Jura Forest Coalition. In the first place, if we ended the conversation with no punishment. Dismissed, the orcs would simply die from hunger. Lacking in discipline, some would attack lizardmen and goblin villages. Their hunger was the cause for this mess in the first place. It's meaningless if we don't solve it. And that's why we'll form a coalition. The lizardmen can offer fertile fishing grounds and fish. The goblins can't expect much from them. My city can provide processed goods. And the orcs excel at manual labor. They can inhabit the lands away from the marshes. Those originally owned by the ogres. That place is also by a foot of a mountain with abundant resources. Speaking of area alone, all 150,000 couldn't possibly all live on the same land, but they could split into Mountain District, Mountain Base District, River District, and the Forest District and thus live. If the particularly large clans split into individual districts, this'll work, somehow. We'll provide the technical support about constructing housing and such. However, we'll work the orcs hard in return. After all, our village's population is too small and many things are left undone. That I want to finish all in one go. That much I explained to them. Everyone heard the same explanation. Unlike last time, this declaration left everybody greatly excited. Their fears wiped away, a fire of hope was lit in their hearts. For some reason, Shin, who had been holding me, bent her back and haughtily laughed for fun. That, of course, I could not permit. However, then her breasts touched me with a puyoon. Ah, whatever, I permit it. I am a gracious lord. Why you'd permit us to join your coalition? The orc general fearfully asked. You can work, right? I won't let you slack off. Oh, of course. We'll work as if our lives depended on it. The orcs trembled, tears falling from their eyes. We have no objections. Rather, we'd like to aid you. The lizardman's head also voiced his agreement. Seems like they've all accepted my plan. Now that we have everyone's consent, the Great Jura Forest Coalition is born. However, a problem remains. An unnaturally troubling, worrisome problem. I'm sorry for bringing this up while you're rejoicing, but... Quiet. Now that everyone has agreed, I want us to tackle the largest problem. That is, provision. How do we prevent 150,000 orcs from starving? I want everyone to lend me their wisdom in this. The last great perplexity. Provision, or rather, the lack of thereof, is the problem. The orcs have enough for 3 days. Even if we plant crops now, we won't make it in time. If we fish for food, we'll clean the lake dry. A troubling dilemma is upon us. The lizardmen have enough food to feed 10,000 for half a year. Even if we gave all of that up, 150,000 would eat it in 12 days. So what can we do? Everyone was scratching their heads thinking about it. And then... Pardon the interruption during the conference. There is an emissary that desperately seeks your audience. A lizardman had run in saying. Seems to be very flustered. After I nodded to Hakura. Show them in. Hakura responded, sending the soldier away. An emissary? From whom? As if answering my question, a single person had entered the tent. A dryad. A beautiful girl with green hair. Like the people of Europe, her skin was white with well-defined facial features. Plump lips, and blue eyes that suit her well. If measured in human years, she'd look about 16 to 18 years old. A guardian spirit of the treants. Among the monsters, she would rank among the top of a rank. Many voiced their surprise when she entered. Well duh, you'd be surprised. As I heard later, it's been many hundreds of years since a dryad Leoto has last been seen. With long lifespans, immortal, actually, these women rarely leave their sacred dwellings. You would normally be happy if they had sent a messenger. Dryad Leoto looked around the room and focused her eyes on me. Pleased to meet you, everyone. I am a Dryad Leoto trainee. Pleased to make your acquaintance. I had come today to exterminate the Orc Lord. But that seems to have been done already. I was planning to leave a second ago, but decided to at least greet everyone. And then I found that you are troubled over a certain problem. I ask that you listen to what I have to say. She said with a bright smile. But she also seemed perfectly calm. And immediately continued her speech. It seems you lack provisions, correct? I believe we could assist with that. However, we ask that our beneficiaries, the treants, are allowed to join your coalition. We have no reason to reject. Actually, we would gladly accept. However, we are grateful for the offer, but why would you want to join the coalition? I asked on everyone's behalf. And when I did. The treants are a race that hardly move. Thus, they have little interaction with other races. Should they be attacked by a powerful opponent or face some natural disaster, they would be helpless. We the Dryads could escape on our own, but we are few in number. If we were to join an alliance, we could receive help when needed, right? She responded with a pure smile. Could she be willing to put her trust in our goodwill? Do you honestly believe strangers' words? Since you haven't met that many, you aren't even doubting them, right? I can't read any hidden intentions from her smile. Of course, I have no intention of betraying her. However, a girl like her would find herself in danger due to her trust. Of course. When troubled, our Lord Rimuru-sama would help somehow. With a few fun. Shin selfishly replied. Don't forget to mention that there are also things I can't do, lass. I wanted to interject, but it was too late. Ma. So it was as I thought. In that case, please take care of us from now on. She ended the conversation with a smile. My opinion was completely ignored the moment it mattered, but whatever. I guess I must concede here. Thus, the Great Jura Forest Coalition was established. Its members. Rimuru's Happy Bunch. Goblins. Lizardmen. Orcs. Treants. And leading this coalition, hopefully temporarily, is me. This day, my name was for the first time etched into the history of this world. Status. Name, Rimuru, Disaster, Tempest. Species, Slime, Human form possible. Divine protection, the Storm Crest. Title, One who leads demons. Magic, Thought Battle Magic Flight Magic. Skills, Slime specific skills Absorb, Dissolve, Regenerate X. Unique skill Great Sage Thought Acceleration, Analysis, Parallel Processing, Incantation Nullification, All of Creation. Unique skill Gluttony Stomach, Mimicry, Separation, Decay, Supply, Food. Chain. Shapeshifter Fusion, Separation. Extra skills Segmenting Black Flame Black Lightning Barrier. Shadow Step. Daily skills Magic Perception Heat Detection Auditory Perception. Supreme Olfaction Intimidation Herculean Strength. Battle skills Noxious and Paralysis Breath Full Body Armor. Sticky Thread Telepathic Communication Cloning. Devil Transformation Flame Transformation. Mimicking, Flame Giant, Black Wolf, Black Snake, Lizard, Giant Spider, Giant Bat, Centipede, Goblin, Orc. Resistances, Thermal Fluctuation Resistance X, Physical Damage Resistance, Pain Resistance, Heat Attack Resistance, Paralysis Resistance, Corrosion Resistance, Electricity Resistance. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tensei Shitara Slime Taken, WN. Chapter 43, War Reparations. Translator's Corner, an English clown and a French Pierrot. Clown, Pierrot. A police officer stopped by. Pierrot, that reminds me, what are the places with 24-hour per day police surveillance? Clown, huh? What? Pierrot, donut stops. Clown, that aside, they were looking for some Kanzaki Yuuko. Pierrot, he, and? Clown, and, what? Pierrot, why should we care about that? Clown, I kind of felt that it was important, something close to home. Pierrot, you think balloon animals belong in a hospital, clearly you are a poor judge. Clown, of course I am. I am not a judge, I am a clown. Pierrot, like I didn't notice that crazy hair. Clown, are you, perhaps, color-blind? Pierrot, sarcasm is wasted on you. Clown, no it's not. Give me some and I'll properly enjoy it. Forest Disturbance Arc. Chapter 43, War Reparations. The day the coalition was established would become a day of great commemoration for the monsters. Because each one of them received a name. Just kidding. Even if it sounds cool, you've got to think about who would be giving them names. There's 150,000, damn it. That's just reckless. I mean, I had gone into a 3-day hibernation after naming merely 500 goblins. By the time I name all 150,000, they'd die from hunger. I was planning to just ignore it this time, but in any case, I also need to devour their sins. And somehow, while they had risen up to rank C+, it seems that they'll be returning back to D in about 2 weeks. They were merely strengthened by the Orc Lord's abilities. And once they lose their magic energy, I will eat it and bestow it back upon them. Thus, I will be able to name them without tiring needlessly. So there is no problem in naming them, except that I'll run out of simple letter combinations. Even if I start giving out the same names in different districts, managing the process will be a pain. There's only one thing to do, the most extreme and supreme method. I will name them based on a series with infinite potential. That's right. Numbers. Sounds too much like a citizen's registration number. Well, frankly, this is the most efficient method. Since they are able to at least line up in formation, I had them line up in the marshes. Would they hate being named on a whim? I had that passing thought, but once the magical energy disappears, they'll devolve into an uncontrollable mob of 150,000. That's too many to let loose. Being only a D rank, they would pose much of a threat, however, I can see them breaking into private property. Besides, as they are, I can't expect much of their work skills, making the coalition rather pointless. Also, if they evolve, their status increases and their reproductive ability decreases. That much we know from the time I named the goblins. Thus, I'll be exercising Victor's rights here. The great clans shall be separated by their names: Yama, Mountain; Oka, Hill; Ora, Cave; Umi, Sea; Kawa, River; Ko, Lake; Mori, Forest; Kusa, Grass; and Suna, Sand. For example, a man from the mountains would be Yama 1M. A woman would be Yama 1F. That's how I would diversify their names. Honestly, managing this will still be a pain. For kids I decided to go with something like Yama 1-1M, for example. Perhaps it would be more appropriate to give with some name or letter combination instead, but I'll leave that to them for new names. And thus, I absorbed their magical energy, and gave them names instead. I first aligned them by clan, then separated them by gender, and began giving them names. As you'd expect, it took a while. However, I was able to give them all names without worrying endlessly. They were given names by their place in the line. I didn't try to match names for parents and children. They should just name themselves if unsatisfied. In this fashion, I went on naming them all. I then had the clan representatives conduct a census. But since they had no paper, it was only to make sure no mistakes were made. But in reality, there was nothing to worry about. Those named could hardly forget it. Unlike humans, monsters always know the name etched on their soul. I thus started to give each one of them a name, taking no more than 5 seconds per person. However, giving each one a name still took 10 days. Of course, while I was naming them without rest, I couldn't just have Benimaru and the rest having fun. I had the Dryad trainee escort them to the Treants community, in order to transport the food. Would it really be enough to feed 150,000? While I had such worries, I could only trust in her words. At the very least, I hope there is enough to last them a year. I didn't worry about the carriers at all. The fundamental worry of war is logistics, after all. Allowing the front line to starve welcomes defeat. No matter how much of a demon each one of them is, carrying enough food for all the orcs must be difficult. However, the Storm Wolves, the moment Ranga had evolved into Tempest Star Wolf, had evolved into Star Wolves. Each one is at least a B rank now. A high-ranking monster. Their numbers are still at 100, but they have unlocked a Star Leader evolution variation. And let's not forget to mention that they can all use Shadow Step now. They can't move instantaneously like Sui or Ranga do, but they can easily move faster than sound. And they now move ignoring any obstacle, straight to their target. Closing long distance with every step, they are moving at 3 times their original speed. In short, really quickly. So I also had the strong Star Wolves handle ferrying the provisions over. If we used a carriage, the trip, with the necessary detour, would take 2 months. This way, a round trip takes only a day. However, the goblin riders cannot journey with them. I don't know if this is something they can learn through practice, but I want them to try. So having remained with me, the goblins are helping arranging the orcs. Thus, we came up with a method to procure food, which lead me to worry about food reserves. I mean, Treants are monsters who survive on water, sunlight, and air alone. They would grow fruits using their magical energy, but there was no one to eat them. They were meant for the race residing in the Holy Lands, but the immortal race just had them accumulate. Moreover, the fruit being magical, it does not rot no matter how much time passes. By the way, as I learned later, this fruit is sold as a rare ingredient called dried treant in human markets. It's really hard to find and can be sold for a large amount of money. The reason for the price is its abundant magical energy. Just 1 drop can keep you going for 7 days, without feeling hunger. Another reason for the high price is the fact that treants don't interact with other races, and the troublesome dryads, who manage this product, give it out sometimes as a present. When I learned this fact, I had mild regrets about giving it out to the orcs for free, but it is what it is. And thus, thanks for Dryad trainee's guidance, we were able to acquire food. 10 days later. Exhausted, I finished. I almost ran out of numbers to use. Tired. However, I was also filled with a sense of accomplishment. 150,000? Just counting that high is annoying. Well, by the time I finished naming them, we also finished dividing up the food. 50 pieces each. They probably understand that when they run out they starve. So everyone wore serious expressions when accepting the fruit. After being named, the orcs evolved into high orcs. But since they weren't named using my magical energy, there was no master-servant relationship between us. Everything rests on their sincere promise to join and support our coalition. Their strength did reach up to C and immediately after evolving, but they settled comfortably in the C rank zone. Considering they were D ranks originally, this should be good enough. More importantly, they have gotten smarter while preserving their special characteristics. They evolved into a race that can adapt to and make use of any situation. After thanking me, they dispersed each to their lands. Overseeing this were 10 goblin riders per group. Once they confirm the location, we plan to assist them with setting up tents. And, guiding them on necessary skills, we will set up each and every community. Though this won't be for a while, but they'll eventually settle down, and their living standards should improve. Thus, we saw the orcs off. Which reminded of a certain individual. The orc general insisted that I work him to my pleasure. But I did want another laborer. Whatever. Let's just let him in. I also need to figure out what to do with the black full-plate armor-clad, 2,000 strong elite orc army. Them I cannot name using a district. What should I do? Since they have a yellow aura about them, I decided to name them using a color and numbers. I glance over the orc army. And have them line up according to my wishes. Recently, I can use my Great Sage's appraisal ability simply by looking. Just like Shana does. As expected of Gluttony's food chain ability. It's super effective. And so I assigned numbers to, everyone, except the orc general. Thus the later famous Yellow Core was born. Numbers assigned indiscriminately of gender. Since there could be no gender inequality among fellow warriors. I'll be later dispatching them to every community as production workers. At the present, there's no choice but to have them do this kind of work. Now, about the orc general. I'm going to ignore any feeling of foreboding. And decide on a name. I'll incorporate the orc lord's ambition, the one he got from Gelmuto. Just thinking about that clown's face makes me angry, but to the orcs he's an important benefactor. I don't care much about his expectations, and I don't have anything to base it on. So, the name I will bestow upon him. With respect given to Orc Disaster's dying wish, you shall henceforth be known as Gerudo. At that moment, the Orc General's body was enveloped in a yellow aura, and he began evolving. And at the same time, I lost a lot of magical energy. Crap, so it really came to this. As always, I entered a lowered activity state, sleep mode. And the following day. Should I say, just as expected, or something? My premonition was spot on. The Orc Elite has all evolved into high orcs. Though they possessed strength almost surpassing C and rank, they were able to retain that level. All in all, they have evolved into rather powerful warriors. Considering that Goblin Riders are also ranked C+, I seem to have acquired a rather powerful army. Well, though Goblin Riders are ranked thus, they really should be evaluated together with the Star Wolves. So perhaps I shouldn't be comparing them. Now then, the problematic Orc General, or rather, Gerudo. He had gained the unique skill Gourmet with abilities Stomach, Supply, and Demand. His magic energy is also pretty high, almost reaching a rank. As expected, he no longer has any of the abilities he got from cannibalizing. Simply because he has no need for them. This skill he got probably because he wished for it from the bottom of his heart. Perhaps because he had endured the pain and suffering, he became such a rational and dignified monster. Can I be satisfied with such a subordinate? I had such a fleeting thought, but decided to ignore it. If he desired to go on independent, I would permit it. Though he doesn't seem to want to do that. And perhaps the death march has finally come to an end. Was all their suffering up until now the effect of Gelmuto's skill, that I wouldn't know? Perhaps that clown was actually a really powerful guy. I joked to myself. The goblin soldiers have finally returned. Their numbers greatly reduced, with only 4,000 survivors. Are they okay? I worried slightly. But, this is their problem and not something I will intervene in. Too much intervention would be harmful to them. Now then, should we take our leave? Let's return the control of this area back to the lizardmen, say our farewells to the head, and head of. Though our time here was a mere 3 weeks, this war felt rather long. I myself seem to have fought alone for a long time. The forest disturbance story thus comes to an end. Gable was brought before the lizardman's head, his father. The moment the fighting ended, he was thrown into prison. His was fed every morning and every evening, but no one had said anything. This kind of lifestyle continued on for 2 weeks. After all, he was a rebel. That much was true. While he acted in what he believed was everyone's best interests, his foolishness almost annihilated the entire race. It was his fault. He had no excuses to say, nor any desire to come up with any. He would probably face the death penalty. A fact he accepted. But Gelmudo who had betrayed him. Ignoring that fact, the slime who had saved him. A lowly monster. That's how he referred to the slime. While that was not a mistake, it also was. That slime is special. Unique and named, a truly special monster. If he could have one final wish, he's want to ask. Why did you save me? The mislead, worthless me. A complete idiot. That thought was on his mind every day for 2 weeks. He stood before his father. The atmosphere heavy, they looked each other in the eye. A father who, as usual, did not show his emotion. Ah, death penalty, huh? He agreed. A leader cannot show weakness. He must uphold law at all cost. So there's no way he could hate him. He resolved himself to quietly accept his punishment. I will pass judgment. Gable, you are exiled. You are forbidden to ever call yourself a lizardman. Further, you are forbidden to ever return. Leave. Show your face among us no longer. Eh? What did he say? His father's guards lead him by the arms outside the caves. The head threw him out. And to the confused Gable. Don't forget this. Don't lose it, okay? He was told, and something was thrown to him. Along with his things, a long-wrapped package. Just from the weight he understood. It was the magic weapon, water vortex spear. Tears falling from Gable's eyes, he wanted to say something to his father. But words wouldn't come out. He was in exile. Filled with various emotions, he could only bow in gratitude. And, without looking back, he continued onward. To the city under construction he had once visited. After walking a bit. Please wait a minute. Gable-sama. Someone called out to him. His 100 subordinates. What are you doing, idiots? I was exiled. It doesn't matter to us. We follow Gable-sama, if you are exiled, then so are we. Yeah. They responded with a smile. What fools they are. This is no place to shed tears. Like my father, I must learn to act with dignity. He thought. What will I do with you? Got it. Follow me. And thus he walked. Filled with a different kind of self-confidence than before. Gable's group joined up with Rimuru a month later. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tensei Shitara Slime Taken, WN. Chapter 44, and thus we finished the city. Translator's Corner, cast, an English clown and an interviewer. Interviewer, now that you introduced yourself, could you tell me something about your skills? Clown, I excel at making people laugh. Interviewer, oh. That's a very useful skill to have in the service industry. How do you make them laugh? Clown, I tell them jokes. Interviewer, let me hear one. Clown, how do you make holy water? You boil the hell out of it. Interviewer, puns, huh. As an extra question, where do you see yourself working here in 5 years? Clown, firing you. Interviewer. Clown, that's also a joke. Interviewer, oh. Your sense of humor aside, Do you consider yourself a people's person? Clown, I am a people's clown. Interviewer, a clown. What do you mean by that? Clown, don't I look like a clown? Interviewer, no. Wait. What are you doing? Clown. Interviewer, stay away. Clown. Clown, do I look like a clown now? Forest Disturbance Arc. Chapter 44, and thus we finished the city. Now that the war ended, we might as well return to our city. Honestly, returning back with an extra 2,000 or so followers is tiresome. So, I'll leave the return march to Hakura. Sui has already returned to let everyone know about victory. We also need to set up some temporary housing for the newcomers. After I sent him back, I sat down to decide who'd rush back with me. Ranga can carry 2 back and Star Leader can carry another. But they couldn't come to a consensus on who'd go. Shin said, I'm in charge of our Lord's care, and Benimaru mentioned something about defenses or whatnot. Gerudo also referred to his ability to carry things with his stomach, and asked to be included. Honestly, though, I don't care who goes. Wait a second. I just remembered that I can use Shadow Step as well. After I decided to return this way, the debate suddenly stopped. I was completely oblivious to dejected Ranga, who wanted to carry me, and disappointed Shin, who was hoping to ride with me. Well then, I'll be going on ahead. I declared, and left using Shadow Step. Damn, this skill is convenient. It's like moving straight to the target through a different dimension. Oh, and I fly through that plane using flight magic. Feels like I'm moving really, really fast. In a blink of an eye I reach the city. Seems like this skill can plot a course not just to people and monsters, but also to locations I've previously visited. I still can't fly especially fast using flight magic. However, even at current speed, I can easily conclude that this is the best way to travel. I am completely satisfied with the results of this trial run. Ranga's group will probably arrive within 2-3 days. Hakura and the High Orcs will be here a month from now, at the soonest. So before they arrive, I have to prepare a place for them to live. While some small dilemmas are bound to arise, we've at least solved all the major problems. For now, I just want to relax. Then, after everyone arrived on time and I divided up the responsibilities, things quieted down. The city was quickly taking on shape. The High Orcs, who arrived in less than a month, quickly learned the appropriate skills from the dwarfs and skilled goblins. According to Kaijin, with time, they just might become as good as the dwarf manufacturing battalion. Is what he said. Thus, having acquired new workers, we quickly rushed to finish all the previously neglected projects. At the same time, we started transporting goods and equipment. We dismantled the tents that were no longer in use, and sent them to the orc communities. The goblins sent to them have been able to assert their leadership and have been helping establishing basic necessities. The moment we began exchanging goods we also started establishing a solid system of exchange. Though they ended up with, what we may call ancient, bartering system, the fact that they came up with it is in itself wonderful. Besides, it's not like they are growing that many goods yet, so they can take all the time they need to learn these things. There is very little variety right now, basically limited to growing a potato-like crop. It can grow even in harsh environments. It also has high nutritional value, and though you can't exactly call it luxury food you can certainly live off of it. Thus, we spread the seeds among them and taught them how to grow it. Perhaps in 2 years they could be self-sufficient? I surely hoped so. Gerudo was very useful in transporting the seeds and tents. As he claimed he could, he swallowed the disassembled tents and thus distributed them among the villages. However, his success is largely thanks to the fact that he can now leap along with the Star Wolves during Shadow Step. He seriously tried hard to learn it and became the first to succeed with it. The rest went smoothly. That is, the trip to the mountain district alone on foot would have taken him many months. Instead, he was able to make a round trip in a single day. So we decided to put the skill to use and established a communications network between all the villages. Basically, postal service. For example, I can scribble some information on a wood block and have it circulated among the communities. Though I must mention that only a few individuals here can read and write, and I'm rather afraid of sending a verbal message. Who knows that it will become after being passed from village to village. Hopefully they can learn letters. More so, since telepathic communication does not reach that far. But that's for later. Thus, we were able to establish some kind of connection between the many communities. And I must not forget about a guy that showed up. Gable. That idiot suddenly showed up in our city. Iya, ha ha ha. This Gable has rushed over to become your strength, Remuradano. He brazenly stated. Kill him. Shin asked me with a serious face. The kind of face that screams serious, and reads, absolutely serious. Gable paled and. I got carried away. I'm sorry. Please allow us to become your subordinates, Remura-sama. We will definitely prove ourselves useful. He immediately corrected himself, falling into a doxa. Apparently, he was disowned, exiled, by his father, and had no place to go. So since he was just so pitiful, I decided to welcome him in. Bet he'll get carried away again right away, though. If I look closely, seems like the head's guard captain is also among them. Captain-san, why are you here? When I asked him. I came to serve Sui-sama, whom I greatly admire. What? So you didn't come because you admired this Gable? I am different from the other muscle brains. That much is obvious. They started to quarrel among themselves. The majority, it seems, came out of respect for Gable, but there were a few from the guard squad as well. Well, I don't see a big problem with them wanting to serve Sui. If you want to serve Sui, go and talk to him. But do note, he's a ninja. Will you be of any use to him? We shall. We are different from those naive idiots. What did you say? Don't underestimate me, little girl. Seems like they don't get along. Probably the fact that one started a rebellion and the other captured them afterwards led to a grudge forming between them. In any case, I won't meddle in that. 'Cause it's damn tiresome. Oh, and I later learned that the little girl is Gable's younger sister. Since she's his relative, she's probably also a little weird. But her father is a wonderful guy. Well, since you'll be serving Sui, I guess you'll be called Suka. The other four I'll name. Tuka, Saika, Nansua, and Hokasua. Flower endings for girls, and spear endings for boys. Of course, there is no greater meaning attached. These five served in the guard squad. I'll leave them to Sui. The moment I named them, they began to evolve. Gable observed this with great envy. However, I cannot name Gable. He already has a name. Are you jealous, Gable-kun? But you are already named Gable. Gable quickly looked at me. And then, his body began to glow. That's a sign of evolution. The moment I thought that, a lot of magical energy suddenly left my body. Again. Seriously. But who could have thought I can overwrite names? Well, chances are this happened by pure chance. The one who named him had died, and we were on the same wavelength or something like that. I don't know exactly why it happened, but the fact remains, I named Gable. I had wanted him to reflect a bit more, but just thinking how haughty he'll become after evolving, damn it, now I'm scared. While thinking these things, I entered sleep mode. The following day, I named the other 100 lizardmen soldiers. The names I assigned by picking letters of the alphabet. 20 names was my limit. Since they were high-level monsters to begin with, naming them uses up a lot of magical energy. The whole process took 5 days. Can't I just stop? Somehow, I feel like I'm working harder than I ever did in my past life. It's Gable. It's all Gable's fault. Since that's clearly the truth, let's fire a magic bullet at him. What are you doing? He exclaimed in surprise. Practice. I responded. He happily accepted that response. He really is an idiot. One that can compete with Gobuta. By the way, since it was pointless, I didn't fire a bullet at him. Gable evolved into a Drago Newt. He's covered by dense scales which act like a multi-layer barrier. Oh, and speaking of strange, the appearance of dragonutes varies by gender. The men don't look much different than when they were lizardmen. They sprouted dragon wings and horns, and are now covered in hard scales, just that much. Well, their dark green color also changed to dark purple. On the other hand, the women have a human appearance. Rather beautiful, actually. Furthermore, they can also cover themselves with dragon scales, sprout wings, and horns at will. They look like I would if I were to transform into a human and combine myself with the black snake and giant bat. Perhaps that black snake was a dragon species. So, since Gable's vices annoyed me to no end, I also wanted to check out his defenses, and it's hard to check that by yourself. I fired a test shot at him. He was unharmed. I only shot a normal round, that he normally received, that should have been 5 times stronger than usual. Well, maybe he's just so stupid he doesn't feel the pain, or, even worse, he inherited my pain resistance. They do say that dinosaurs were dull to pain, so could he be a? Now that they have evolved, what should we do about their housing? If they need water, there's that river flowing nearby. And it's a pain to make a village with only 100 people. There is that underground lake in the cave, but there's no fish and high magic energy density. Well, since it's Gable, he can handle that much, right? They could also cultivate hippoct grass while they are at it. However, would sending them into the cave prove perilous to them? The 5 guards I left to Sui. Hopefully he can raise them into fine ninja and kunoichi. Since I'm scared, I'll be sure to avoid their practices. Gable's group is the problematic one, however. Even if I send them into the cave they probably won't become monster feed, but as dragonutes, their fighting strength is B rank. They should have no problem defeating most monsters in there, but the centipede could cause them some trouble. But since they are experienced warriors and are carrying weapons they should be fine, right? I shouldn't worry about Gable either. His evolution placed him at rank A-. He also obtained quite a lot of magical energy. So maybe he'll end up as an A rank. Gable, I want to leave harvesting hippoct grass in the caves to you, how about it? When I asked. Please leave it to me. This Gable will work himself to the bone for your sake. He casually responded. I'll leave it to him. Besides, if they start living there, they can also double as the cave's guards. And so Gable's group started harvesting hippoct grass in the caves. I had some lingering worries, so I came to check, but they seem to be doing just fine. And since they are constantly fighting, they are becoming stronger. Right now, they can bring down a centipede with just the 5 of them. How reassuring. I should also send them new weapons. So I thought. And thus, some time passed. 2 months have passed since I returned to the city. Just as everyone was getting used to life here and production was going smoothly. And the moment we finished the last house, the goblins, if I had to say, about 8,000 of them, showed up and knelt before me, saying, if you may, please make us your servants as well. We humbly beg you. They said, falling prostrate before me. I thought for a second. If I refuse them, that may seed conflict later on. Besides, I also strictly ordered not to discriminate against other races. If I send them away that may set a precedent of discrimination. Let's accept them. So I decided. Fine. But I will drive away anyone who's slacking, is that fine? Of course. I accepted them lightly. But little did I know that another struggle was soon upon me. Again. My screams could be heard immediately after. To say the least, I used numbers and thus created the Green Core. That was the moment the famous Green Core was born. Along with the Yellow Core, they would be known as having no equal, the crux of my force. Right now, they were but dirty goblins. And a month later, I finally finished naming them. But this was not a complete tragedy. My total amount of magical energy has increased. I mean, I kept emptying time after time again, so it was bound to increase a bit. And thus, I finished naming the goblins. By the time I finished naming them, we also finished constructing housing for everyone. I had the goblins stay in a boarding house for now, but that's certainly better than camping out in a tent. We had a system for drawing water, a well in every house, so it is a pretty advanced city. Having a flush toilet is also heavenly. There is a need to carry the pumped out water to the toilet in a bucket, but strong monsters don't particularly mind. There are also those who don't excrete, though. Me included. However, we can't have the city stinking. That much I will not permit. However, there are still many fields and animal farms that haven't seen success. I want to make sure this city grows in abundance. I have finally acquired a land where I can live at peace. Here are those who were with me at the time. ONI, 6 people. Tempest Star Wolf, 1 member. Star Leader, 1 member. Star Wolves, 100 members. Goblin Riders, 100 people. Goblin King, 1 person. Goblin Lords, 8 people. Hobgoblins, 8,657 people. Orc King, 1 person. High Orcs, 1,984 people. Dragonewts, 106 people. And 4 dwarfs supporting us. There are over 10,000 monsters inhabiting these lands. And thus we finished the city. End of the forest disturbance arc. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tensei Shitara Slime Talken, WN. Chapter 45, Those Who Observe. Translator's Corner, a PRO and a bartender. PRO, another failed interview. I mean seriously, what's up with Clown? How will be paying rent now? Bartender, would you like a Moscow mule, in that case? PRO, because the world is so cold to us. Bartender, it signifies opportunity. How did your friend fail the interview? PRO, decided to turn the interviewer's tie into a balloon animal. Bartender, as expected of a clown. PRO, and the guy almost suffocated. Bartender. PRO, aren't you going to say anything? Bartender, the bartender tends the soul of the customer. Sometimes through silence. PRO, is that how you got the title GL*SS of the gods? Bartender, oh, you knew about that. PRO, who wouldn't know? Hey, want to hear a joke? Bartender, sure. PRO, 2 cannibals walk into a bar and sit beside this clown. The first cannibal whacks the clown on the head and they both start eating the clown. Suddenly the second cannibal looks up and says, "Hey, do you taste something funny?" Life in the Royal Capital Arc. Chapter 45, Those Who Observe. Upon reading the report from the Espionage Division, the Dwarf King Gazelle Dwargo fell into deep consideration. The division, whom he asked to monitor that peculiar slime, has reported facts he could not ignore. A city built for monsters. Were they joking? He thought so for a second, but the spies never told jokes. They frankly delivered their report. And then, the unbelievable tale continued. The Orcs' army had invaded. The despondent state of the lizardmen. The war ending due to the appearance of a mysterious army. The army probably are the clansmen of the said slime. Holding up the letter to a candle, he burned it. And, closing his eyes, he tried to sort all the new information. Currently, there were few casualties in the forest despite the rise in monsters' activity. It has increased slightly since when Feldera was there, but is still similar to last year's statistics. They had been expecting the number to double, at least. So, someone is enforcing the order in the forest. Chances are, that someone has something to do with that slime. And the orcs stopped their invasion. Had they, for example, rushed into dwarf cities, an insane number of people would have been killed. It would be foolish to expect that the orcs would not have attacked the dwarfs. But he can't just praise good luck and forget about the whole incident. He must urgently meet the ones responsible. So the king quickly decided. He definitely wanted to avoid making an enemy of them. Rather, he'd be happy if they could cooperate in the future. Perhaps they should carefully start negotiating with them while ignoring the deportation incident. Or, perhaps they should resort to a more reliable method. Having made his decision, the king began to move. The 4 demon lords decided against independent action concerning the forest. There was no problem in this regard. However, they immediately started bickering when it came to who will monitor the situation. With an appearance of a little girl, the demon lord Milim Nava had these thoughts. If I leave it to these blockheads, they are bound to mess it all up. After all, she saw them as little but muscle-for-brain idiots. Certainly this was just the time for the cool and wise Milim to take the stage. The fact that she had thrown a table at Gelmudo moments prior completely escaped her. In fact, the girl herself was one of those muscle-for-brain idiots. Moreover, she was the most short-tempered and simple among them. What the rest would consider common sense was completely lost on her. The Harpy Queen and one of the Demon Lords, Frey, was bored. Milim will just go on a rampage again, so sending her is out of the question. Because the cleanup would be a pain. However, Frey could not work against her. Though they were both Demon Lords, there was a clear difference in power. Frey's kind are called the rulers of the skies, and she herself is known as the Sky Queen. It would be preposterous for her to lose against those who can't fly. Their special ability magic gemming can cancel out flight magic spells. So those who cannot fly normally would fall to their death. And although Demon Lords would probably survive even if they fell from high in the sky, they would be unable to land a single hit on her. Those who can't fly can't threaten her. However, Milim Nava doesn't fit in this category. The girl is a Dragonoid. And the strongest queen. Her nickname, Destroyer, is not just for show. She doesn't use magic when flying. Rather, she uses her own wings. Nor does she depend on magic during combat. So Frey would be at complete disadvantage. Truly her natural enemy. So Frey was basically forced to go along with Milim's wishes. She merely hoped to be able to continue this passiveness for the rest of the conference. Hopefully all will end peacefully. She thought, and let out a sigh. Lycanthrope's Lion King Carrion felt pretty good. He had attended the conference to kill some time, but was able to see something interesting as a result. I have to make those ONI into my subordinates. He thought. Harpy Queen Frey was probably not interested. She probably just went along with Milim's wishes. As for Milim, she might be a short-tempered simpleton, but she is by no means stupid. Expecting the disagreement to devolve into a vote, Carrion brought friends who would support him. What an impudent woman. He thought, looking at Milim. What a narcissistic face she makes. In the first place, who would have expected someone like Gelmudo to be able to stir 4 Demon Lords into motion? That thought was brought up by the ghastly Demon Lord Clayman. Gelmudo was his protege, and, upon receiving this request, immediately went to Clayman to seek advice. Whatever you may think of him, Gelmudo was the type of person who would hide his true intentions behind the language of a polite gentleman. Now, Clayman and Milim, which was a more formidable foe? Battle strength-wise, Milim hands down. Carrion probably couldn't defeat her by himself. The very thought angered him, but fighting her without analyzing her battle abilities ahead of time would most likely lead to a defeat. On the other hand, if he properly prepared, he would certainly be her equal. No, maybe a bit better. Clayman is probably weaker than the rest. However, this case is all about ingenuity. In other words, the easy-to-deceive Milim is out of the game. Frey, being Milim's follower, is also out. So the real foe is Clayman. That Carrion was sure of. So how should he proceed? Carrion was deep in though planning his next step. Clayman wore a gentleman's smile while observing the other 3 Demon Lords. The one who introduced Gelmudo to the other Demon Lords was none other than him. He also pulled some strings to get this all arranged. Gelmudo had planned to get the Demon Lord's attention by presenting his magic items and armors, but that was bound to fail. So Clayman had to arrange the meeting. And he specifically called 2 Demon Lord simpletons here. Fully expecting that the Harpy Queen Frey would also be brought along. Though Frey is careful and cunning, she seems to be uninterested in this incident. So everything went according to plan. 2 Demon Lords who specialize in combat. No matter how hard they think, they are simply not that bright. Clayman can easily stall them. Guiding the conversation the whole time, he even tried to get them on the topic of avenging Gelmudo. With that thought, he had thought to say, "Hey, just a thought, but how about we send our subordinates, 1 each? That way, I can also send one of my daughters," Frey declared with a somber expression. The other 3 immediately stiffened. While I could reject the offer, I would not be able to substantiate the refusal. The three thought. They would just have to accept it. And after checking the other's expression, they nodded. Fuhaha. I had just been planning to say the same myself. How strange, I as well. What to do if you took the words right out of my mouth, so it's decided. And thus, although each demon lord had intended differently, they decided to send a subordinate there. In reality, they intended to. Soon, Rimura's village would be visited by 3 demons. 3 adventurers were walking in the woods. Cabal, Elon, and Giddo. They came to the forest on a subjugation request. And, by the request of their guild master, they also were to visit Rimura's city. To the adventurers, that city was heaven. And the yakiniku was delicious. But by the time they returned, the village greatly changed and expanded. Now, they could even have their equipment services and had a guest house prepared for them. As presents, they brought spices and salt for the seasoning. Not for their sake, of course. Patrolling the city is a hobgoblin-wolf combo. Thanks to their speed they have been ensuring the safety of the area. It's thanks to this city that the forest has gotten so much safer. Moreover, you can get various rare ingredients from them for free. Get this. Parts of poisonous snake and horned deer. On a good day, you can even get the horn of an armorsaurus. They could even use these to claim to have finished the guild's subjugation requests. It is, of course, cheating, but that's only if you get caught. Well, unfortunately, the Brumun's Free Guild's Master Fuse, with whom they are affiliated, is already suspecting them. So they can't just suddenly bring back such trophies. Greed would only lead to their demise, so they decided to act with prudence. And so, they are once again going on a subjugation request in the forest. Merrily walking to Rimura's city. But damn. The food is getting better and better. Isn't Shina-chan as good as the cooks in the royal capital? Yeah. I'm usually a bit picky about food, but everything's great there. Listen up, guys. We aren't going there to eat, you know. We actually have a legitimate reason to go there this time, remember? That's a stupid question. Yeah. It's been 2 months since we last visited, plenty of time has passed. Yes. It's been a while. But, have they finished the baths? I can't wait. The royal capital also has those. I'd love to go to them someday. The world travelers have been demanding them for a long time, right? I can see it becoming a habit though. Right? So looking forward to it. But anyways. Do you know, Giddo? There is a wonderful system called mixed bathing in this world. Last time, Rimura passionately spoke about it. I'll make sure this city has it. Rimura exclaimed. Do you get it, Giddo? We have finally reached the promised land, where we can possibly enter the baths together with Shina-sama and Shinsan. What did you say? Hey, I don't mind you guys having fun by yourselves over there, but you're getting left behind. Thus they continued on, aiming towards a yet unseen paradise. And, during their journey, they would meet someone completely unexpected. The land of Pharma's kingdom's count. Bordering the Jura forest, it considered the forest in its sphere of influence. Patrolling the nearby villages was the count's frontier garrison. They were appointed by Count Nidalee Magam himself, and established plenty of routes to quickly get to villages during an emergency. Their captain's name is Yamu. Quick-witted and tough, he has a toned body, darkened by the sun. Neither tall, nor short. He looked as if he never let his guard down. By no means ugly, rather, he has a pretty good face. There are 30 people in their organization, but it has 3 captains. Their fighting force is always separated into 3 groups, with one resting at base. So that in case of an emergency, they can move as soon as they hear of it. Thus, although they have searched for an appropriate location for their base, none of the villages fit their needs. Every one of them was built near the forest, creating a large distance between them. Thus, even the closest village, on horseback with provision, was a day's worth away. For the further ones, you'd need to prepare a carriage. The Count's city is by far the most separated and is a poor place for their base. Moreover, the lifestyle in the villages could hardly be called pleasant, so the garrison didn't get the treatment they had wanted. That led to growing discontent among his subordinates. They have not received a large sum of war funds, and even if they had, they wouldn't be able to buy anything worth of note. After all, they had to spend most of it just purchasing weapons and armors. What had kept the soldiers away from mutiny was the fact that the villagers were truly thankful. To ruffians and drunkards that the soldiers were, the villagers offered heartfelt hospitality. The villagers understood that they were there to protect them against monsters, which was true, and considering how honestly they were thanked every time, the soldiers decided to work hard for the villagers' sake. Also, because the monsters hadn't attacked as often as the Count had thought, there were no casualties among the garrison. Not just deaths, there were no heavily injured among them either. More bitter grass soup today. Thinking thus, Yumu brought his troops into the forest. Not wide enough for a carriage, but a horse could traverse through it. The small twigs coming at them could easily be deflected with magic. If they had to take a carriage along, they'd have to go down the mountain highway route. That detour would cost them many days. Hence the problem previously described. At that time, they ran into a group of people walking in the forest. Adventurers from head to toe. Did they come on a subjugation request? He thought. News from here sometimes reaches the cities and requests are not uncommon. While some adventurers are sent on behalf of the ghost researchers, who are attempting to learn thought transmission, if there was an actual subjugation request it would have been announced at every nearby city. That is, to prevent multiple groups from fulfilling the same request. If they were aiming for a giant bear, then unfortunately the soldiers have already killed it. From how they look, they seem rather capable. Perhaps it would be smart to make acquaintance. With that thought, he called out. Hey! You guys! What are you doing out here? If you came for a giant bear, you've wasted your time, you know. And when he did? Ah, no. Well, I guess subjugating a monster is one of the reasons. Dana, what are you saying? Our objective is subjugation, isn't it? Right. The official story. Crap. They were too careless. Yuma listened to their exchange while surrounding them with troops. Were they foreign spies? While he had no duty to capture them, he'd be troubled if they caused trouble. Why would they be here if not on a request? He thought. I repeat, what are you doing here? Answer me. If you don't, you might lose your lives. He didn't plan to kill them, but needed to intimidate them a bit. Their exchange abruptly ended, and... The thing is, we are heading to a city. Their representative, a large man, answered. There is no city further in. No doubt about it, they are suspicious. Should I hand them over to the Count? But I really hate that guy. What to do? No, really. A kind monster. Hey. What are you doing revealing this? Don't look at me. If they tell you, don't come again, we'll go on without you, you know. They are too suspicious to ignore. While looking at three bickering, Yuma decided. He had to confirm their words. Where are you adventurers from? Answer. Don't attempt to hide it. These are the lands of Pharma's Kingdom's Count, under the protection of the frontier garrison. I am their captain, Yumu. The three exchanged glanced and seemed to have given up. While apprehending spies was not part of his duties, it was something he could do. He couldn't leave them alone, after all. The countries have agreed on not employing spies. However, whether any country has actually kept that promise is a different story. Who knows what country they've come from, but only an idiot spy would pretend to be an adventurer. Spies would normally take their lives if cornered, but these guys don't seem to plan on it. Are they really adventurers? When he thought that. No, honestly. But, it's a monster's city. You wouldn't believe that if we had told you, would you? Besides, we don't want to cause trouble for Rimura-san. I am not involved in this. The one who spilled the beans is you, Dana. What would we do if we were banished from there? And again they began fighting. Amazed, Yuma thought, could they perhaps not be lying? If so, he had to check it out. After restraining the three and throwing them on a horse, he had them show the way. to a city yet unseen, and a monster who would play a large role in their lives. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tensei Shitara Slime Taken, WN. Chapter 46, A Country's Name and Two Treaties. Translator's Corner, Cast, an English clown and a French Pierrot. Pierrot, clown, you menace. Clown, what have I done now? Pierrot, failed another interview I found for you. Clown, oh? Is that how it is? Then next time, how about you find a job for yourself? Pierrot, then I will. Clown. Pierrot, that wasn't funny at all, was it? Clown, nope, the readers will not be amused. Pierrot, status update. Clown, sure. Pierrot, so, dear readers, we have 2 more members joining our team, Smoggy the Bear as a translator and Yuuka as the Bear's editor. They are currently in charge of Chapter 52 and will be working on many more to come. Clown, that reminds me of a joke. So a translator gets 400 words to translate. The client asks him, how long will it take? The translator replies, about a week. Shocked, the client says, a whole week for just 400 words? God created the world in 6 days. The translator looks at the client, and responds, then just take a look at this world and afterwards take a look at my translation. Life in the Royal Capital. Chapter 46, A Country's Name and Two Treaties. The city has gotten rather pretty. Behold the results of my hard work. Isn't something I can say, however. But that aside. I fussed over a few things, toilets, plumbing, insect repellents, and baths. The first 3 we made in Japanese style. I also built window screens using spider thread. At first, we had built the toilet seats out of wood, but that was no good. Though that's how the Japanese did it, it's unbearable to maintain. It rots, you know. So I turned to the dwarfs. They've never failed at their task, so perhaps they could do something about the toilet problem. Thought manipulation was very useful this time around. It is the evolved form of thought transmission, but its use stayed pretty much the same. So using it, I could easily transmit an image to them. Drawing and explaining it would be difficult, but sending them a mental image was not. Even then, however, when I showed them flush toilet system saying, when you push the lever water flows down, reproducing it was impossible. It could be made with high-level water magic stones, which absorb water from the air, but they are very expensive. Also, since they need to be frequently replaced, they are rarely used even for military objectives. Honestly, only the very rich could afford to create this. Since we don't have the needed capital, we would do with what we have. In any case, we can leave complex plumbing systems for later. So for now, we supplied water to tubs in every household from which one can then draw water. And, after filling the toilet bowl with water, you can then flush it down. So Kaijin lived up to his reputation yet again. Thus, I had strictly commanded the monsters to watch personal hygiene and dental care. I don't know whether monsters can develop dental problems, but there's no harm in making sure they don't. According to Kaijin, adventurers tend to either befriend people who know cleaning magic, or learn it themselves. That way, they can avoid staying dirty during long trips. Though mostly the high-ranking ones concerned themselves with these things. Now, about the insect repellent. As you'd expect, the forest has a lot of bugs. Since you can't protect yourself against them, there's a chance of catching diseases they carry. While that's not a problem for me, the hobgoblins do get sick. So, I tried to fix this problem. I asked the dwarfs to create it, but they couldn't do it. I guess we'd have to go and buy it in the human cities. Though we have no money. I asked the 3 idiots to go get it, but this is what they said. Don't ask the impossible. It's super expensive. Besides, we wouldn't know how much we'd need to buy to cover a whole city with. You'd find that quantity only in the royal capital. Remuradana, can you imagine how hard it would be to transport? Is what they said. I don't mind them coming over to hang out, but they should at least be of some use sometimes. Moreover, they are getting too friendly with Shana. Often cooking together, buying her wares, trying to get closer to her. And we even built them a house to stay in during their visits. The monster's birth rate dropped to that of humans. Thus, I'll need to figure out what to do about marriage soon. I want orc, goblins, and lizardmen to have the right to choose whomever they love. It would be good if they produce stronger offspring. But there is a problem: should I allow polygamy? This might be especially helpful to women who have lost their husband. The ONI, for example, can reproduce with any race, but choose not to. All their magical energy gets absorbed in the process, and some have not been able to recover it. As Benimaru said. But that isn't something Rimuru-sama should be concerned about, right? Many people have lost all their magical energy after naming monsters, and even demon lords generally avoid it, after all. Way to drop the bomb. Hey. How many do you think I've named by now? And you mention it now. Thank goodness it has been replenishing till now. I'll have to be more careful about naming monsters from now on. Well, replenishing energy just seems too natural to me, call it an adult's intuition or something. Anyways, it seems there are also two types of children produced by ONI. The first are created with but seed, the second is truly labored over. The former is made by combining some of one's magical power, and while they do inherit some abilities, they tend to be weaker. The latter you pour all your strength into. But your lifespan shortens as a result. I am fine alone. I'm not interested. It's personal. By the way, it's different for women. They can reject a seed they believe too weak. So if they were forced, that would mean that the partner was stronger, but if deception was involved, then they wouldn't bear a child. They aren't allowed to bear children with just anyone. And this is common among high-ranking monsters and devils, it seems. Goblins and other demi-humans, since they don't possess superb strength, are not much different than humans. So far, we've had about 5-10 children born, and not more than 2 at a time. In any case, in order to ensure that they leave offspring, I will allow polygamy. However, only limited to widows. And that's the rule I passed. I'll change it when needed. Every new moon, we decided to hold a confession festival, and new couples would be given a home. Singles would continue living in tenement housing. Well, if they occupy some important post, they are free to live on their own. That much doesn't bother me personally. In the end, I won't be able to make sure everyone's satisfied, but there is a custom to accept my wishes in this city. When interests clash, residents bicker, they come seeking my decision. Well, the elder bunch also handles many of these, so my involvement can be said to be limited, to some degree. Everyone is trying to be very considerate of me, so they try to avoid causing trouble. I was surprised at how cooperative the monsters really are. When it comes to government, whether socialism or capitalism, both will eventually rot and fall apart. A land ruled by a truly just king, where everyone is equal. 'Tis but a pipe dream. However, I decided to aim for that dream. I pray I will never fall into vice. Should I become truly depraved, I hope someone will end me. That's what I thought while observing the confession festival. Now that we've stabilized the life here and passed all, seemingly, necessary rules, I want to go and see how humans live. Besides, I can now transform into a human, it's about time I go and learn from them. Normally, those who have reincarnated into a different world make a big deal about meeting humans. I, however, have met very few so far. The group outside of the dwarf's city, Shizu-san, the 3 idiots, and that's all? Nor have I forgotten my original objective of meeting fellow world travelers. From Shizu-san's memories, her 2 students, Kagurazaka Yuuki and Sakaguchi Hinata. I do want to meet the 2 of them, but Sakaguchi Hinata sounds like bad news. There was also something that bothered me. Why did the kind Shizu-san allow Hinata to go on her own? As her senpai, as a fellow Japanese, shouldn't she have seen her off? I must meet Hinata and confirm. I have acquired some of the memories from targets I've consumed with Predator, but certainly not all. Lingering memories are easier to acquire, I guess. When I meet her, I should confirm what I know. The 3 idiots have passed along my message to their guild master, and also looked after the letter I wrote. That letter simply expresses my desire to meet him. Though he's but a chief of a small country's Freedom Association branch, he is a guild master. He should have connections. Hopefully I can get some benefits from meeting him. If it goes over well, maybe he could even try to introduce me to the Grand Master Kagurazaka Yuaki. Since things have calmed down around here, I can probably leave for a bit. However, to do that there is something I lack. Right. Money. The three idiots were pretty poor, and didn't have much money on them. Not that I expected better of them. I want to buy vegetable seeds, magic stones, handicraft, and whatever seems impressive. I initially planned to sell some demon steel, but decided against it. The reason is simple. Demon steel is too precious of a resource. Since we use it in our weapons and armor, selling it would be almost sacrilegious. It is also invaluable for production of mounted soldiers' weapons. Since it can change shape at will, it's useful for receiving and dealing various attacks, to say nothing of carrying it. And while I do have a lot of it, it's not like it's an infinite amount. So let's hold off selling it until we can replenish our stock. As for iron ore and such, we discovered some in the mountains district, and are buying it off the high orcs. So Kurobi and Kaijin are using it as a base to create weapons. We also need a lot of magic stones for research. Those are created by the human ghost researchers and does not appear naturally. They manufacture it from crystallized magic stones they extract from monsters. It also seems to require large factories, so is only done at the Freedom Association's headquarters. Monsters sometimes drop crystallized magic stones, those are then collected at each individual branch and sent to the headquarters. That's the system that they use. So when adventurers hunt monsters, they don't only do it to protect against damages but also to become rich. A pretty good system, if you ask me. Which means that if I want to acquire some magic stones, I have to buy them. So I ran into the money wall again. Thus, how should I earn some money? By myself I couldn't possibly make enough quick enough. The same with selling, our fields don't produce nearly enough, and we probably couldn't sell them at a high enough price. Weapons and armors are for our personal use, and those will not be sold. So, do we have nothing to sell? The thing is, we do. I had left a certain something to Gable, after all. Right. Hippocked grass. So I called Gable over. Gable-kun, how is cultivation going? Phew. I'm glad you asked. It's going well. Literally the fruits of our labor. He said, showing me their produce. It's weed. Silently, I aimed black lightning at him. Well, he won't die from it. I've gotten good at adjusting the output. Kua. What are you doing? Have I angered you somehow? Idiot. This is common weed. What the hell have you been cultivating? What? I beg your pardon. I've been hurrying so I seem to have mixed things up. I've been hurrying, won't cut it. Seriously. Watch what you are doing. Besides, it should be nearly impossible to grow weed in a cave with such high magic density. In reality, even this exchange was planned. We're actually steadily growing hippocked grass. Rather, teaching Gable to distinguish between different types of grass is what was giving me trouble. And this Gable walks around the cave as if he owned the place, sometimes even referred to as its king. The monsters inhabiting it also flee at the sight of him. Some of his subordinates have recently been able to defeat the centipede alone, and now consider the cave as their territory. It's actually really impressive. Not that I will say that to them, or offer any praise. Gable is the type to get carried away when praised and fail soon after. Just like me. I understand because I am the same. They have been grown a lot of hippocked grass up until now. I then called Kaijin over and showed him the hippocked grass. And next to it, the medicine I made from processing it. Quality was appraised as very good. I've always been able to produce quality medicine with it. Then, I started the conversation. Kaijin. If I sold this in a city, how much would I make? Kaijin thought for a bit, and then replied. Dana, that's a tough one. This medicine is too good. Its effects are too good. It's impossibly good. And then I learned a few things from him. That my medicine has the highest purity rating of 99%. That normally, the limit is 98%, and even dwarf masters have not been able to surpass it. That even at 98%, it fetches a high price. And so on. So, if you tried selling this in a city, you'd stand out too much. An answer came from the sky. But my magic perception didn't sense anyone. It's been a while, Kajin. And, slime. Do you remember me? While saying this, a person appeared from the sky saddled on a winged horse. A wonderful white steed with wings, a Pegasus. After landing, he jumped to the ground. How could I forget, it's the Dwarf King. Hero King Gazelle Dwargo himself. My lord. Why would you be here? Did you sneak out of the castle? Kaijin's opened his eyes so wide they seemed like they'd fall out. Well, yeah, that's only natural. The king was alone, actually, no he brought an extra. He came with only 2 people. Actually, haven't I seen the other one somewhere? Huh. Isn't that Bester? The dwarf that tried to ensnare us, why would he be here? Fun. I slipped past 100 guards of my own. They've been slacking. When I return I'll retrain them. And no, to have a king as their training partner. Kaijin, did you say something? And no. I said nothing at all. Is that so? Okay, then. Speaking of things outside of my knowledge, the two continue their conversation. How the hell did the king slip out? We decided to continue the conversation at a different place. And not to a temporary one, but to a special building in the center. All the administrative duties are carried out in this building. So we borrowed one of the conference rooms. So, King, what's all this about? Why did you bring Bester Dono along? Oh. That's simple. I selfishly decided to forbid your future re-entry into the Dwarf Kingdom. So I decided to come and see you instead. As for Bester, he's also at fault for what had occurred, so I also exiled him. But we can't have him lead a carefree life, now can we? So I brought him over. Did you really just say that? Do you, King, truly understand? Are you planning to have Bester work here? You don't want him. That's not the problem. Aren't you worried that his knowledge will be leaked to us? Kaijin said with a deadly serious face. Though he's serious by nature, he's desperately pressing the king for answers. In contrast to him, the king casually ignores his questions. The previous dignity is nowhere to be seen, this is probably his actual appearance, huh? As for Bester, he looks completely lost. Leak, huh? When you guys left, isn't that exactly what you were doing? I've considered erasing you, you know. Suddenly the king turned serious. King, that. I am serious. I decided against it though. I try to avoid pointless effort. I brought Bester over because I would like him to work here. Those words lit a flame in Bester's eyes. King. Don't get this wrong, Bester. I had high expectations of you. That much is true. I won't permit you to serve me, but you can work to your heart's content here. That's all. King. Wouldn't that mean that they would be learning all the dwarf skills for free? Kaijin had just gotten over that, though. Fun. Is it fine as all you guys say? With you two here, this city will become the center of technological development. Don't you understand? The dwarf country, this king is interested in working together with you. Get it? The dwarf country, as of today, officially seeks to form a non-aggression treaty with you. Also, before that, as an under-the-table deal, we want to form mutual technology research treaty. That, however, must never be mentioned to anyone. How about it? Will you accept these 2 treaties? He said with a serious face looking me straight in the eye. A non-aggression treaty and one to share technological advancements. What more could we ask for? They are essentially recognizing as an official state. So does that mean you are recognizing us a country with sovereign rights? To my question. Of course. It's a good offer, isn't it? Also, just out of curiosity, what is the name of this country? A name? Kaijin and I exchanged glances. Undecided as of yet. Now that you mention it. I had thought that about it once, though. The Dwarf King had decided to stay the night with us. If traveling on the Pegasus, he could return to the Dwarf Kingdom within a day. However, journeying by night is dangerous, so he decided to return the following day. We had gathered an emergency council to decide the name of the country. And thus we decided, we shall be known as the Monsters City Tempest. They had intended to call it Rimuru, but that was too embarrassing, so I forbid it. We comprised down to Tempest. It's not like it's only my name, and it sounds alright. That night, to commemorate the naming of the city, we threw a large party. We have an abundance of food, and some pretty good cooks. Seems like we've even been able to impress the king. That's mainly because Shana is just such an amazing cook. For entertainment, we had a mock battle with the king. He was grumbling about how he never gets to leave the castle and such. What a surprisingly open personality he has. At this rate we'll be calling each other by name soon. But a mock battle is no good. Is what I thought. But he wouldn't listen. Seems like he's planning something. But I have no choice, I'll play along. I transformed into my human form. Since eating the orc disaster, my human form grew a bit. I'm no longer a child, but a young girl. Around 150 centimeters in height. A bit more accomplished, maybe? Taking wooden swords in hand, we face each other. Hakura observed the match, and called for it to start. Begin. That very moment, the king disappeared. Escaping my perception completely. Dangerous. The moment I thought that, the wooden sword I held was hit out of my hand. The match was decided. I completely lost. So this is the Dwarf King, the power of the Hero King. Listen, Rimuru. From the very beginning you didn't notice me approaching from the sky, did you? Though magic perception is a wonderful skill, but there are countless ways to slip outside of its sight. I anticipated what perception method you would use, and slipped past it. These are the basics of war. Concentrate harder. If you depend only on your abilities, you won't improve. So that's why he did this. Satisfied, I thanked him. Thank you, Gazelle. Next time we meet, it won't be this easy. Fun. So you say, youngster. After our match ended, the monsters' cheers filled the city. They were very excited, to say the least. Benimaru, Sui, and Shin also seemed like they wanted to say something, their faces were serious. Hakura nodded with a happy expression on his face. I still have a long way to go. I finally learned that. The banquet continued long into the night. And the next day, the Dwarf King Gazelle Dwargo and I officially signed the two treaties. History will know today as the day when the Monsters City Tempest was officially created. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tensei Shitara Slime Talken, WN. Chapter 47, A City's Specialty. Translator's Corner, Cast, an English clown and a landlord. Clown, good evening, Sir Landlord. Landlord, am I an English knight now? Clown. I didn't know the landlord was knight itself. To think you were such an important being. I am very impressed. Landlord, what foolishness are you on about now? Clown, the same one as always, I am a clown, after all. Landlord, sigh, the police stopped by today, were they here for your illegal translation? Clown, how rude. I have permission from the author to translate it. Landlord, is that so? Don't cause me any problems, you hear? I'll raise your rent. Clown. Landlord-san, turn that smile upside down. I'll make you laugh with a great joke. Landlord, I don't. Clown, a housewife called up a pet store and said, send me 30,000 cockroaches at once. What in the world do you want with 30,000 cockroaches? Asked the astonished clerk. Well, replied the woman, I am moving today and my lease says I must leave the premises in exactly the same condition I found them. Life in the royal capital. 047. A city's specialty. Devil Grusius is a wolfman. Valued for his excellent espionage abilities, he was assigned a secret mission by the Demon Lord Carrion. He was remembering his words. Observe them but take care to go unnoticed. If you see any other devils, extend the invitation to the ONI before them. Devils other than himself? When he asked about that, Carrion added. Clayman and Milim will be sending one of their subordinates there. Working together with them gives me the creeps, so do as I asked. He said, averting his gaze. Ah. Carrion-sama. Why have you averted your gaze? Could they be such troublesome opponents? Upon hearing this question, Carrion was confused for a second, but his confusion quickly turned into a broad grin. I see. You haven't heard of Milim, have you? Is that how it is? I see, I see. All right. No problem, in that case. Regarding Milim's subordinate, or rather, the one who refers to oneself as her subordinate, do not go against her. As long as she stays happy, all is good. But I have complete trust in you. So he said. Grusius was thinking about the question he ardently tried to dismiss. Milim most likely refers to Demon Lord Milim Nava. A famous demon lord that even Grusius has heard of. She is indeed strong. By strength alone, she would be a match for Carrion-sama. The worst-case scenario, she would surpass him. Her personality can be described with 4 words, short-tempered, haughty, cruel, and egoistic. Nothing good is ever said about her. However, why should he fear her subordinate? It has been only 100 years since Grusius became a devil. So, he naturally did not know. Not about Milim, at least, those rumors excluded. Soon, when he reached the meeting place, to be precise, he quickly regretted his ignorance. Devil Myolan was lamenting her misfortune. Working with other Demon Lord's subordinates was bad enough. However, among them was Demon Lord Milim herself. I bear responsibility for that outcome. Demon Lord Clayman said. But I don't have any disposable pawns other than yourself. Had I not lost Gelmuto, I would have sent him, but... Nothing we can do about that, right? He went and died. No further discussion would be held on this topic. Demon Lord Clayman. Nicknamed Marionette Master. Someone who manipulates friends and subordinates like dolls. For him, the aforementioned matter is set in stone. And though Myolan was just called a disposable pawn, she lacked the willpower to retort. She had no choice but to accept. The Demon Lord named Milim she knew all too well. So Demon Lord Clayman gave her one order. Stall the other Demon Lords and find about their weaknesses. Just that much. Since Milim was involved in this case, any further activity would be impossible. Myolan agreed. Demon Lord Milim is by no means stupid. She is called short-tempered and impudent, but that is not true. Moreover, she possesses an abnormal perception, so fooling her would prove difficult. Thus, it would be best to not try to slip anything past her. But Myolan had no reason to be vigilant towards Milim's subordinate. And yet she was still on her guard against Milim. She understood why she should stay vigilant. Demon Lord Clayman had conveyed it to her a little while ago. Chances are, Demon Lord Carrion also knew. The reason was... Oh, so you would be my comrades, huh? I am Demon Lord Carrion's subordinate Grusius. Pleased to meet you, I am Demon Lord Clayman's Myolan. I am Milim. Milim's subordinate was nowhere to be found. That's how it was. And thus, the three gathered at the rendezvous point. The treaty between the Dwarf Kingdom and the Monsters country essentially testified bilateral cooperation. The fact that their 2 representatives signed the treaty ascertains its validity. Could a treaty between 2 countries be established this easily? Since that exceeds my knowledge, I asked. That's not a problem. Since I swear by the gods, spirits, and sacred ancestors, I cannot falsely sign. And you aren't a human, are you? Through the contract's authority, should you lie, you'd be erased, you know. And received such a nonsensical response. So, I asked Great Sage for an explanation. Apparently, monsters can't lie. I was completely oblivious to that very important fact. We cannot convey what we believe to be a lie. However, that does not mean we can't fool people. Omitting facts, for example, or leading them to believe something by revealing only specific facts. However, in case of contracts, lying through the aforementioned methods becomes essentially impossible. Well, if you can talk yourself out of the lie then no problem, but if you publicly declare a lie, your existence will be erased. It's a rule pertaining to every monster. However, monsters born through birth are not always bound by this rule, and sometimes capable of telling lies. Goblins can lie freely. On the other hand, high monsters and demons exemplify this rule, and are famous for being bound by contracts. Demons don't tell lies. Although they are often called sly, they are actually a rather pure race. And when people come to believe this they grow negligent, and a demon comes to snatch away their soul. Even though you're a monster, you didn't know this? Rimuru, aren't you strange? I've been born not too long ago. I'm still in the process of learning. Is that so? Well, whatever. Please don't accidentally erase your entire country after I went to the trouble of recognizing it. Your rule assures the safety of the entire forest. I beg you. Well, we've just finished building this city, and we don't intend to lose it, so, we'll do our best. And thus, we signed the treaty into effect. I still don't know all of this world's alphabet, but I can at least write my name. I learned that much when I was bored. The moment I wrote my name, the document began to glow and split into two. The paper, it seems, was made by the ghost researchers. To annul it, you would need to burn both of the copies at the same time. However, as long as the other party is living, destroying the document is impossible. It would merely restore itself to how it was before. We tried that once, and it was exactly as they said. Thus the contract was complete. This contract should be kept between the two countries. And while openly declaring it is not a problem per se, it kind of defeats its purpose. There is no need to let the world know about it. The Dwarf King accepts his copy, pleased. I'll also leave this to you, he said, and took out a crystal as large as a fist. When I accepted it. That's a communication crystal. Ask Bester about its installation. Use it in case of an emergency. And stay in good health, he explained, and saddled the Pegasus. And, looking at Bester. Bester, you should research to your heart's content here. King. This time, I will live up to your expectations, he said and nodded at the response. Farewell, he added, and flew off. He suddenly came, and hurriedly left. Just like a storm. Hey, Kaijin, is it okay for your country to have such a free-willed individual as a king? Who knows, but he's ruled for many hundreds of years, and has plenty of achievements, so it should be fine. But never in my time in the court have I seen him move around so selfishly. Oh well. I'm the last person who can criticize him. Right, I too am planning to run off to some human village. I'm not planning to say something that will limit my ability to move around. Leaving the conversation at that, we left the clearing. The treaty documents I deposited into my stomach. Since our defenses aren't perfect as of yet, having it stolen would make for a poor story. Would it reappear if I were to lose it, is an experiment I will not conduct. And thus, we successfully established a treaty with the Dwarf Kingdom. Now then, it's about time I consider the lesson Gazelle taught me yesterday. Rimuru Dano, Kaijin Dano, I humbly beg your forgiveness. Would it be possible for me to work here? Bester interrupted my thoughts. Now that he mentions it, he did almost entrap us. I had completely forgotten. I'll be frank, can you follow my orders? I forbid discrimination against any race of monsters. Are you okay with that? Of course. I have reflected on my mistakes. In the first place, it has led me to feel envious of Kaijin Dano. I will not repeat that mistake. I want to continue my beloved research with all my strength. I would never betray that wish. As for me, I would only benefit from an excellent researcher. If anything were to happen, I'll take responsibility for him. So, Rimuru Dana, please forgive him. Kaijin said so. Well, rather than me, it would be you, Kaijin, who would be troubled. Well, if you're fine with it Kaijin, I have no complaints. Pleased to have you, Bester. Thus, Bester became our new comrade. And because he became our new comrade, we made a discovery which came to be our city's specialty. Worst day ever. How many sighs has the devil Grusius suppressed until now? Remembering Demon Lord Carrion's broad grin only evoked anger. He knew, that bastard. Actually, no, I should have known myself. So he thought. Worst day ever. Who would have guessed that riding on his back would be a demon lord herself? Worst day ever. The moment they met. Hey, shorty. How dare you call yourself with a demon lord's name? I won't tell your master, so name yourself at once. He had said. And the second he said it, he was knocked unconscious. Grusius lamented his misfortune. In the first place, he had never seen the demon lord Milim. Having beautiful, glossy blonde hair tied in twin tails, and a short stature, anyone would mistake her for some random kid. No one would expect her to be extremely strong. Though she was making a really cute face, the moment he called her a shorty, her expression changed. Her round eyes immediately turned sharp, and her lips twisted into a cruel smile. Then, his consciousness faded. After getting hit a second time, he was out cold, and that brings us to the present situation. The other devil Myolan ignored him. Worst day ever. Grusius was reflecting. Not to judge a devil by their looks is common sense, so why did he commit such a grave error? Myolan must have known. Right before Grusius was hit he saw her eyes open wide, as if screaming, "What the hell you saying, idiot?" He would probably say the same thing had he known. Worst day ever. If only he was told about this. However, he was told not to go against whoever would call herself as Milim's subordinate. But who would have thought that she wouldn't call herself a subordinate but openly name herself? Is Milim honest to a fault? No, it was too late to have such thoughts. Since then, Grusius made sure to never judge a devil by their cover. And, now. He's in his wolf form, running through the forest. Thanks to his regenerative abilities, he somehow endured. After getting knocked around, he was then ordered to let her ride. Of course, he never even considered refusing. Myolan is running by his side. For the devils, this much wouldn't tire them at all. And thus, the three came upon a certain city. We've been busy continuing developing our restorative medicine. Well, I doubt you can call trying to lower its performance development, however. Could we dilute a single restorative pill, 98% purity, with 10 times the amount of water to create a high-class, 60%, medicine? We tried to so, but it proved impossible. It turned into low-grade, 20%, medicine. If you used a high-quality pill, the purity would only go up by 10%. And then, Bester made an unexpected discovery. He had wanted to see our hippocked grass farm, so I guided him to the cave of the seal. He was scared of riding the star wolf at first, but quickly got used to it. And thus, we entered the cave. Gable welcomed us at the entrance and showed us in. After observing our cultivation, Bester went to look at the underground lake. Remuridano, hippocked grass can be cultivated due to the high magic energy density of this lake, right? So what if we tried diluting the restorative pill not with normal water, but with this water? I see, we should test his theory at once. And so we did. We were able to produce medium grade, 40%, medicine. Of course, with a high quality pill, the purity rose to 50%. How wonderful! A great success. We also tested just how much we could dilute it. From a single pill we could create 20 medium grade medicines. Nodding to Kaijin, I gave him a high five. We succeeded. The first specialty of Monsters City Tempest. And that's how we made it. Bester seemed like he was having a lot of fun handling the grass with Gable. Perhaps they are rather compatible. Huh, aren't you chummy? Bester, how about we make you a room here? I had meant it as a joke, but... would you really? To think that I would also be permitted to reside in this cave. It has the perfect atmosphere for mad science experiments. He said, his eyes sparkling. Are you sure? There are bee and rank centipedes around here, you know. No problem. I may not look it, but I've indulged in sorcery, and am rather good at it. I looked at Kaijin, and he was shaking his head. A lie? As long as you don't regret it. We'll be preparing a room for you. No problem, I said. Gabaldano is here, after all. I see, if Gable is here, Bester won't be attacked, huh? Satisfied. Gable, can I leave Bester to you? Please do. I am here, and I will also assign 2 of my subordinates. How reliable he has gotten. I still worry about him getting a big head, but I guess he was strong to begin with. But he seems to have calmed down recently, and gets along with Bester pretty well, so I should just leave it to him. And so, we had built Bester's research lab in the cave. Gable had 2 of his subordinates guard the room in the cave, and the result was actually rather pleasant. If this is to become his lab, we probably don't need to include any life necessities. But, we do need to figure out how he will be making the trip to the cave all the time. While I was thinking these things. Remurudano, can I set up a magic circle here? It would be difficult to create inside these doors, but it is possible outside. Should I set it up? I had mentioned before that I want to have a magic circle at the place where I defeated the Black Snake. A transportation magic system circle, to be precise. If you write 2 identical circles, you can move between them. Well, I guess it wouldn't be inaccurate to say that I'm coming to like sorcery. Kaijin was also surprised, hearing Bester explain this. Thus, as long as monsters won't be appearing in the middle of our village, I decided to permit it. Bester then drew a circle inside his house and another inside the cave. And thus, he solved the transportation problem. But wow, transportation circles are convenient. Of course, I had him immediately teach me. And, after Gable and the rest also learned it, we were able to move easily between the city and the cave. Bester is an unexpectedly useful dwarf. As for the guy himself, he was just engrossed fantasizing about all the research he will do. Since I left some restorative pills and demon steel with him, he can continue researching those on his own. I've also introduced him to Kurobi Inshina, which started another long conversation. Rather than politics, this guy is made for science. He seemed very boring when he was obsessed with political power. I guess it corrupts you. But truly, people should be doing whatever they enjoy. As long as that doesn't cause trouble for others. And so, after spending some time with Bester, he naturally became one of our comrades. Ending his meditation, he opened his eyes. In the middle of a dimly lit room of a high-class inn, the Dwarf King sat. One that the espionage department's leader stayed at, using an alias, of course. The king laughed. It's been a long time since he's had such an interesting experience. King, are you in good health? Suddenly, a shadow appeared nearby. He knew right away, it was one of his spies. The fact that he slipped out of the palace and was now here probably caused a great commotion at the palace. In the first place, he has 100 people as his personal guard. For them to have let someone in or out undetected is simply preposterous. They needed to be retrained, so the king thought. No problem. He answered briefly. There could have been no problems. Then, though it's been a long time since he last used this skill, he used spirit possession on the spy. And, let the espionage leader know. You will return to the royal capital, taking the Pegasus with you. Disappear into the shadows as you always do after that. As you command. A typical exchange. His trusted confidant, espionage department's leader. With the same face and the same body. A clone created by the ghost researchers. That was a secret shared only between the 2 of them. Unlike towards a stranger, the king could perfectly use spirit possession on this spy. In case of some emergency, this was his trump card. The Dwarf King Gazelle Dwargo was remembering yesterday's match with the slime. That slime will become very strong. Just with reaction speed alone he was able to receive my sword. Gazelle did not intend to hit the sword out of Remuru's hands. He intended to land a hit on Remuru's head. And that hit, whether he fell behind with the attack or not, Remuru was able to react to. How amusing, he thought from the bottom of his heart. What will become of this treaty, he did not know. However, don't disappoint me, Slime Remuru. Gazelle felt the approaching end of the era of peace. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tensei Shitara Slime Taken, WN. Chapter 48, Demon Lord's Invasion. Translator's Corner, cast an English clown and a French Pierrot. Pierrot, so depressed. Clown, again. Why? Pierrot, AK is still looking for people to join the Slime World's team. Clown, what's that? Pierrot, look on the recruitment page, fool. Clown, I'm a clown. Fool was my grandfather. Pierrot, and your grandmother was a juggling bear, right? Clown, no. That's our new translator. My grandmother was a bearded lady. Pierrot. Are you sure that wasn't your grandfather? Clown, yes. No. I don't know. Pierrot, did you know? Bearded men can obtain the appearance of an upper-class Arctic explorer by simply applying Tipex to their beards, painting their noses blue and cutting off a couple of toes. It never fails to impress the girls. Clown, I don't even know what's going on anymore. Pierrot, certainly not your employment. Life in the Royal Capital. Chapter 48. Demon Lord's Invasion. Demon Lord Milim Nava, Devil Grusius, and Devil Myolan observed the city tempest from above while discussing their next move. Devil Grusius sighed mentally. After running without a moment of rest, they finally reached the city. What a terrible person Milim is. Any mistake while interacting with her could lead to a great disaster. He believed this fact with his entire being. So how should he converse with her from now? After staying with her for a while, he realized her complete lack of dishonesty. She is honest to an extreme. Of course, monsters are not good with lies, but they are not as restrained as the world tends to believe. While this doesn't apply to high-ranking demons, most other monsters have no problem telling small lies. And if such a monster also happens to omit the truth, they would have no problem conducting successful negotiations. However, Demon Lord Milim probably hasn't even heard the word negotiation. She boldly declares her demands and rampages if they are rejected. That's the kind of image she gives off. Originally, Grusius had intended to observe the situation while hiding his identity as a high-ranking devil. However, Milim would never even consider such secrecy. She unfortunately believes that if you are working, there is no need to hide anything. Now then, how should he proceed? What could he say to continue working on his own? Devil Grusius was desperately thinking of a way out. Devil Myolan did not see any chance of this mission succeeding. Because suddenly, they were plagued by Demon Lord Milim. She is, after all, a demon lord who focused on strength, so her complete incompetency in espionage makes her a hindrance. However, she can't just say that to her face. And besides, since Demon Lord Clayman failed to hold her back in the first place, he has no right to complain. She thought. Marionette Master, what a joke. Pushing this baggage of a demon lord on them and demanding secrecy. Impossible much. He should have lived up to his nickname and manipulated her despite the fact that she is a fellow demon lord. Hiding her complaints in the dark corners of her mind, Myolan considered her next steps. She noticed the identically troubled look on Grusius' face, and they locked eyes for a second. Perhaps it would be best for them to work together. At the very least, unless they had Milim work independently, she would definitely impact their mission. From what Demon Lord Clayman gathered, Demon Lord Carrion intended to hire new subordinates. Seems like a number of ONI served the mysterious masked monster. Carrion probably hoped to win over the masked monster, or, in worst-case scenario, try to lure away a few of its subordinates. Since Grusius would probably be moving with this objective in mind, Myolan decided to offer her support. She wouldn't be able to learn their weaknesses if nothing happened, that is. Let Grusius do as he please and observe the situation. So she decided. Couldn't expect much from Milim, after all, it's like throwing a boulder into a pond. If the ripples are too great, the devils will also stand out. Thus, Myolan decided her plan. Now, to realize it. Milim observed the city that spread beneath her. It is well made. The citizens all possess strong magical energy. All seem to be high-ranking monsters. The term high-ranking monsters refers to those that have developed intelligence, and depends not on their strength. She understood the extent of their cooperation with a single glance. Via her dragon eye she could measure each of their abilities. How wonderful! Though it's hard to believe, but they are all named monsters. Who could have named them all? She felt her amazement and astonishment overtake her. She certainly could not replicate such a troublesome feat. Especially considering the chance that the energy you bestow on someone may never return to you. Demon lords like her tend to hate seeing their power disappear like that. This time she only showed up to kill some time. If she seriously made her move, not just Frey, but also Carrion and Clayman would answer with great indignation. Fending off both of them at once would be troublesome, she figured, not intending to lose, of course. But she was truly glad that she had come. The very fact that monsters built this city themselves was amusing. The castle that Milim resides in comparison, was built by humans, who worship her as some deity. Her dominion's human villages were attacked by high magic beasts. And Milim, who just happened to be walking by, killed it. The humans seemed to have misunderstood her somehow. And thus, the land became hers. The other demon lords didn't complain, nor did Milim have any particular reason to complain. This time as well, she didn't come searching for new subordinates. Rather, she came to kill some time and to later see Clayman and Carrion's upset faces. That's the only reason for her journey. She had intended to let them have whoever once she finished teasing them, but for it to be like this. The monsters living here were of such high quality. Their abilities so great. And someone rules over them. How amusing. Her simple mind has by now completely forgotten about Clayman and Carrion. She had found her target. Someone whose magic energy rivaled that of a demon lord. And thus, she made her move. After deciding to sell medium-grade medicine as the city's specialty, we continued researching towards mass production. In order to produce some, I handed over some medicine that I had made myself. And then I got an idea. Could the difference in purity be due to oxidization? That is, there is little between production through my skill and normal manufacturing. The only difference is that one occurs in an oxygen-rich environment whereas the other is inside me. Bester listened seriously to my hypothesis. It seems that this world knows of chemical elements. Though, included among the different types of magic, in opposition to spirit magic, it is called chemical elements magic. I am personally not well versed in the concepts of magic, but Bester seemed to have understood my explanation. Is it affected by oxygen? He said he'll consider my hypothesis. In any case, I just mentioned whatever first came to mind, so it's not my fault if this is wrong. Success is built upon many failures. A mistake can also be considered progress. Since I'm only in charge of HR, I passed on this job to him with and left. Kaijin is busy discussing something with Bester. They are so friendly right now that it is hard to believe their earlier animosity. That's because their hobbies match. But this is for the best. I returned to the city using a magic circle. We set up the city's magic circle near the gates. At the vacant lot near the guardhouse, to be precise. So that in a 1 in a million chance that monsters do pass through the circle, we can quickly deal with them. Bester, however, insists that it is impossible. That is, since you need to recite an incantation to transfer, it is impossible for monsters to use it. So I'm probably just worrying too much. Just using something I know nothing about, albeit hesitantly. I should learn magic soon. Then, the moment I had intended to head over to Rigurdo's place to let him know about our success. My magic perception noticed a large mass of magical energy flying in our direction. Dangerous. I made the split-second decision and ran beyond the gate towards it. As expected, the lump changed direction mid-air and pursued me. Extremely quickly, too. Seems like we'll be meeting each other at the clearing outside the village. Good thing I didn't run into the village, spared the buildings from some unnecessary damage. Steeling myself, I observed the opponent. The distance between us shortened greatly with every passing moment. That much could be understood with eyes alone. A beautiful girl. Blonde hair tied into twin tails with a black gothic dress covering her body. Her appearance was that of a lovely human girl. The air around her, however, screamed the exact opposite. The lump of magical energy, or rather, the girl landed right in front of me. And frighteningly, she didn't cause a single ripple with her landing. Though she was flying at such terrifying speed, she was able to erase it completely before landing. Could she perhaps manipulated the law of inertia itself? Now, however, was not the time to consider such things. Pleased to meet you. I am the Demon Lord Milim Nava. I came to greet the strongest being in this city. The beautiful Demon Lord told me. A Demon Lord? Why the hell would one of those show up now? Shouldn't your subordinates or some 4 heavenly kings to show up before you? I somehow managed to hold back that retort. Good job, me. However, how should I respond? I am currently in my slime form, and I am not revealing any of my aura. I've gotten pretty good at magic energy manipulation recently, so I can subconsciously prevent any leaks. In other words, I should appear as some lowly slime to the ignorant eyes. Whether I check with a clone or through magic perception, I don't seem any different than a normal slime. That's how well I've hid my aura. Even then, I wonder how she saw through me. The pleasure is mine. I am the lord of the city, Rimuru. You seem to have seen through to my true strength, huh? Though perhaps the strongest one around here is actually Hakura. Though I won't say that. While observing her, I asked that question. Phew, fun. That kind of thing is simple for me. Using this eye, the dragon eye, I can see the target's magical energy even if they try to hide it. So no one can pretend to be weak before me. So eyes with analytical abilities? What an annoying opponent. Compared to my analysis, hers seems to be stronger. Her proficiency level is beyond question higher. This I can't win. If we fight, I might have to use all my skills and tactics just to create an opening. Her level is completely different from the pseudo-demon lord that Orc Disaster was. What amazing eyes you have. Now, what would be the purpose of your greetings? Let's hear her intentions. Knowing your opponent's goal is absolutely necessary, after all. Mew? Purpose, you say? Just to greet you, though. She's hopeless. I had intended to eloquently convince her to go back, but stumbled at the first step. Just a greeting, she says. I'm honestly at a loss here. Ah. Right, I remembered. You, how about calling yourself a demon lord, and becoming one? She suddenly added. The hell she saying? Eh? Why would I want to do such a troublesome thing? She was the one to be surprised now. I mean, a demon lord. Sounds cool, right? You long for it, right? I don't. Seems like there's a fundamental difference in our thought process. We're just staring at each other's faces without having our opinions reach the other. Well, a slime doesn't have a face, though. Well, then, let me ask. What's so good about becoming a demon lord? That's, a bunch of strong people aim to fight you? It's fun, you know. Nah. I have no need for that. Not interested. Then how do you enjoy your life? In a bunch of ways. If I were to become a demon lord, are there other ways to have fun other than to fight? Not really. Then isn't it really boring? The moment I said that, Milim appeared as if she were struck by lightning, and looked as if she took serious damage. She was bored, huh? My words were so accurate that she can't say anything in response. Any further conversation would prove meaningless. I should take advantage of her shock to take my leave. Well then, since we got that out of the way, could I ask you to leave? I handled that pretty well, I thought. Wait. Why you? You're doing something more fun than being a demon lord, aren't you? No fair. No fair, no fair. I am mad. Teach me. I won't forgive you if you don't. I should be the angry one. Just a brat. I had wanted to exclaim, but desperately held it back. The opponent is a demon lord, angering her would be bad. Rather, maybe if I treat her like a kid, handling her will be so much easier. At times like this, just have to be straight with her. Let's imagine her as a relative's kid. I got it. I'll teach you. But, I've got a condition. From now on you'll call me Rimuru-san. What? Don't screw with me. The other way around. You should be calling me Milim-sama. Alright, then I will call you Milim. And you will call me Rimuru. How about it? Mew mew mew, alright. Got it. I allow you to call me Milim. Be thankful. Only demon lords can call me that. Ah, is that so? Then let's drop formalities from now on. Some sparks flew between us during the conversation. But we seem to have settled on dropping formalities entirely between us. Okay, I'll guide you in, then. But don't go wandering on your own, okay? Got it. Rimuru. Good good. Aren't you obedient? Also, don't go rampaging in the city without my permission, okay? If you can promise me that, I'll consider you my friend. That's easy. I promise, Rimuru. So far so good. She's easier than I thought. Just like a kid who'd listen to anyone that would give them a candy. Monsters have to keep their promises, right? Should be fine then. Thinking that, I led Milim into the city. Accompanied by a slime, Demon Lord Milim entered the city. Devil Grusius saw it happen using Farsight. And bewildered by this fact. Hey, is Milim getting a head start on us? After taming some lowly slime. So it seems. But this is for the best. We could never continue in secrecy with Milim around. Right? Let's just pretend we got rid of a bothersome person. They said, nodding to each other. If they moved together, they couldn't imagine a scenario where their plan wouldn't go down the drain. And now that this happened, they can move freely. So, what will we do? How are we going to infiltrate? Yeah. While the two were busy considering this, Grusius's Farsight picked up a human squad approaching the city. Yo, a human squad. Are they here on monster extermination? Probably, but do they know that monsters built a city here? And looking at each other. Let's mix in with them. That's a good idea. We'll disguise ourselves as humans and infiltrate the city. They decided. As two high devils, they could easily transform into a human. And after some light preparations, they mixed in with the squad moving towards the city. The monster's city Tempest. And thus, the two were able to meet the human named Yumu. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tensei Shitara Slime Talken, WN. Chapter 49, Hurricane Milim. Translator's Corner, Cast, an English clown and a mailman. Clown, Mailman-san, thank you for your efforts. Mailman, oh, thank you. You are from, apartment 212, right? Name is. Clown, how have you heard of me? Am I famous? Mailman, huh? I've been delivering mail here every day for the past 2 years. So of course I would know someone who's lived here that long. Clown, oh. By the way, have you heard this joke before? One day a mailman was greeted by a boy and a huge dog. The mailman said to the boy, "Does your dog bite?" "No," replied the boy. Just then the huge dog bit the mailman. The man yelled, "I thought your dog doesn't bite." "He doesn't," replied the boy, "that's not my dog." Mailman, "That's a true story, lass." Clown. "Somehow, I'm sorry." Mailman, "Oh, by the way, here's a letter addressed to you." Clown, "I don't know anyone by that name." Mailman, "Eh? Life in the royal capital." 049. Hurricane Milim. Devil Grusius and Myolin were walking in the forest disguised as humans. They expected to soon chance upon the human squad. As any wolfman, Grusius's appearance differed little from a human when not transformed. It's been 500 years since lycanthrope King Carrion called himself a demon lord in search of power. That was during a turbulent event where new demon lords replaced the old. Called the World War, this event would occur once every 500 years. And that's when it happened. At the same time as Carrion, 3 other demon lords were born. Frey is one of those. Considered the youngest, with least experience in the war, are Demon Lord Carrion, and the last to be born, Demon Lord Leon Cromwell. The 6 new Demon Lords were thus the members of the new generation. The old generation, on the other hand, has survived over 2 such wars, their strength far surpassing the rest. Therefore, most of the new generation Demon Lords strive to expand their power. Carrion being one of these, it is natural for him to seek strong individuals. Grusius became a devil only 100 years ago. The lifespan of lycanthropes is not much different than that of humans. The only difference being their longer youth, lasting from 30-50 years. In fact, when they start to grow old, their bodies begin to quickly weaken and they tend to die within 2 weeks. The king of the beast country Eurazania Carrion possessed great power from the day he was born. He became a devil through his own power, and even evolved into a demon lord. There is also a rumor that he exterminated a single demon lord himself, but whether that is true or not is open to debate. Grusius did not possess enough power to evolve on his own, however, he did excel at stealth and combat. But thanks to his abilities he gained a chance to evolve. Through drinking the blood of the king. The survival rate of this ceremony is only 10%. Being able to endure is in itself a mark of a hero. Grusius endured this trial, like squeezing through the eye of a needle. And thus, Grusius became the same species as his king, and acquired the same abilities and long lifespan. Even now, 100 years since his rebirth, his abilities have yet to wane. Compared to Grusius, Myolin's circumstances are far more complicated. She was originally a witch. Persecuted by humans, she was on the run around 300 years ago. After uncovering the secrets of evolution, she bestowed its benefits unto herself. That is, she gained eternal youth. As for why she is currently serving Demon Lord Clayman, that would be because of a deal they made. Around 400 years ago, Clayman succeeded the previous Demon Lord. The moment he did, he began hunting down named devil and monsters to steal their hearts. Making them swear loyalty to him, he inscribed a curse onto their hearts, making them his eternal servants. Myolin met the same fate. Even though she gained the power of a devil after evolving, she was far weaker than Demon Lord Clayman, and so, after being defeated, she had the curse of servitude engraved on her heart. As a result, her status did increase, but she could hardly be happy about it. And since then, she became one of Clayman's marionettes. She could understand devils like Gelmudo who yearned for their own servants. Myolin was waiting for an opportunity to dispel the curse and strike at Clayman. Her long life, however, testified against such opportunity. The difference in their abilities was too great. So her servant life continued. She merely hoped to one day be released from the curse. And so, until present day. The goal is information gathering, I will flawlessly complete the task. She thought, thinking up a plan. She would use whatever she could, whether it be Grusius or the human squad. Anything goes as long as it led to her release. She had no choice but to abide Clayman's wishes. Since she was originally a human, turning into one was hardly any effort. A man and a woman walked in front of Yumu's group. And they quickly joined his party. Siblings, they said, an older sister and her brother. But extraordinary no matter how you looked at them. Yumu observed the two, who were happily conversing with the rest of the garrison. They were dressed in Empire's clothing, with an appearance pleasing to the eye. While they weren't particularly suspicious, if they possessed even a bit of strength they would certainly be able to walk through the forest. Jura forest's monsters are not particularly strong individually. That is, that statement would be true if the monsters had not become active some time ago. Currently, entering the forest is truly dangerous. Traveling through the dwarf kingdom is far safer. They are indeed suspicious, can't let my guard down around them. Yumu reasoned to himself. There was nothing strange about their tale, and they opened themselves quickly to the rest of the garrison. At first glance, no problem, right? However, his intuition said otherwise. And in such cases he should trust his gut. That's the way of life that let Yumu live till this day. Well, they do seem capable, so let's put them to use. He simply decided. Whatever their intentions were, Yumu would only have to make sure he used them himself in return. There were simply too few people in the garrison, and only a few of them were particularly skillful. So welcoming two strong individuals into their group would only benefit them. The suspicious ones are the three captured adventurers. He ordered them to lead the way to this mysterious city, and they don't show any signs of lying. Therefore, the city must truly exist. They don't seem keen on escaping, so he had them untied. The three, as well, have gotten friendly with the squad, and are boasting about their achievements. Seems like they really are adventurers. But because they came from a different country, he has never heard of them. And being only at B rank, they aren't famous enough to be known outside their borders. They are capable veterans, nonetheless. Oh, so there's a city ahead of here? One made by monsters. Yeah. The first time we went there, they brought us yakiniku. It was delicious. At that time we were pursued by a stampede of giant ants. My life was flashing before my eyes. But as a result, we got to meet Remurudana, so I'm happy that happened. Who would Remurudana be? Ah, the head of the city. The city is mostly populated by hobgoblins. And the one who rules them all is the slime Remurudana. What? A slime has followers. Yeah. Rimuru is a very cute slime. Actually, guys, are you sure we can reveal all of this? Keep me out of it, okay. Considering we are bringing them there, I don't see a reason to hide it. In fact, wouldn't it be worse if they get the wrong idea and cause trouble? Yeah. Don't come back again. If they say that, I'll cry. We haven't even entered the baths yet. Whether due to carelessness or some ploy, they are answering any question you ask. Yuma could not imagine any ulterior motive. But the city was such a bizarre concept, how could it possibly exist? For a delusion, however, it was far too detailed. Ah! We've reached it! The thief class kiddo exclaimed. Yuma stepped forward to confirm. Far ahead, under the shadows of trees, he could see a silhouette of a city's walls. It was true. Yet that thought only increased his tension. A city made by monsters. A concept difficult to quickly accept. But there it was. Would he be greeted by snakes or demons? Yuma flashed a fearless smile and proceeded towards the city. Showing Milim around the city was a far harder task than I originally thought. If you've ever brought a small kid to an amusement park, you know how I feel. If you look away for a second, she's gone. That's exactly what it's like. Oh I. Didn't I tell you not take off running? Wahahahaha. Over here. What's this? Listen. Just listen to what I'm saying. Wahahahaha. What's wrong? I'm listening. No you aren't. She was strangely excited, running around all over the place. When she met Gable a moment ago. Oh. A Drago Newt. Wahahaha. Working hard. Yeah. I am the Drago Newt Gable. Who would you be? Shorty. Butchie. Huh? Did you say something? Would you like to try dying once? She lightly kicked Gable in the knee, and, after he lost his balance and fell, she drove her fist into his stomach. Letting out a single gofu, Gable was on the brink of death. Hey, wait a second, didn't she promise not to rampage? Listen, fool. I'm in a very good mood right now, so I'll let you off with this. Don't ever look down on me again. Seriously, who's a shorty, who? She said. Any more in death, huh? What a frightening girl Milim is. Or should I just call her plain scary? To Gable's good luck, he was carrying a test product restoration pill. Probably heading to Kurobi for a request. But even with a medium-grade pill, his body didn't completely heal. Truly a fist that can one-shot anyone. She probably held herself back, too. But now that it has come to this, I'm pretty sure the promise not to rampage no longer applies. Gable limped away. With a benevolent nod, Milim waved him goodbye. And as if nothing had happened. That guy's is really sturdy. How about I strengthen him a bit more? Please don't ask me that. I thought. Nope, never. It's bad to bully the weak. Mew? I see, bullying the weak is bad. I know that. Oh. If you knew that, then from now on. I could only ask that much. That is, I don't have any way to stop her. With her explosive temper, I can only pray that Gable would be the only victim. And like this I continued to show her around. She observed the making of armor, and requested a set. She observed the sewing of clothing, and became Goblin as dress-up doll. She observed the farming, and helped plow the fields. I've never seen someone plow a field that quickly. And thus the day passed. By the time the night came, everyone in the city has heard of the small despot. Assembling the leaders in the dining hall, she introduced herself. I am Milim Nava. It's a pleasure. That's what she said. Isn't Milim a name of a demon lord? Having spent the day practicing with Benimaru, Sui, and Hakura, Shin muttered that question. Haha, what the hell are you saying? There's no way a demon lord could be here. Benimaru laughed, rejecting her question. This is bad. At this rate, we'll have another Gable-style tragedy. I wanted to salvage the situation, but... What kind of relationship do you have with Rimuru-sama? Have you become friends? Sui asked. Milim, who seemed about to explode a moment ago, now fidgeted bashfully. With her face bright red. Well, rather than friends, we're close friends. Is that how it was? Forgive my rudeness. I am Sui. I am Rimuru-sama's faithful servant. Please take care of me. As expected of Sui. Good looks and an eloquent tongue to match. Actually, Milim-kun. Since when did we become close friends? Since when are we close friends? I asked timidly. We aren't. A tear began to form in her eyes. Faster than the tear, however, energy began gathering in her fist. Just kidding. We're really close friends. Best friends forever. I quickly added, evading danger. Almost hit a landmine myself. Not letting a Gable happen again. I see. You're good at surprising people. She grinned broadly. A simply fellow. Simple, but hard to deal with. Carelessness is forbidden from now on. I thought, reaching a new step of enlightenment. Benimaru still hasn't realized the situation. Need to warn him later. Unlike Sui, he doesn't understand a woman's heart at all. He's even worse at it than I am. If he wasn't a handsome guy, he would surely be hated by everyone. Stupid people always end up suffering. The problem is, he won't survive suffering caused by Milim. The conversation ended thus as food was brought out. Milim happily began eating. I, too, changed into my human form and removed the mask. When Milim saw that. So you're the one who killed Gelmudo. I see. She said. With a huge smile on her face. The other people present reacted differently. They looked at me, pressing for an explanation. I won't be able to fool them, it seems. When dinner ended, Milim looked ready to fall asleep. So I had Shana escort her to a guest house. I wonder if she'll be complaining about the bed and such. Saying something like, not a bed, I want tatami mat with a futon. Well, can't give her what we don't have. I'll just leave it to Shana. Then, I explained today's events to everyone. I see. That was truly a powerful hit I took. I saw my father beckoning to me from heaven. What? Seems like you're still out of it. Your father is still alive. Right. How rude of me. Gable's response aside, everyone else was surprised. Well, duh. A demon lord had showed up. But, just as a note, I had her promise not to rampage, so we should be fine, right? When I asked. Actually, it's not like all monsters can't break promises, you know? While the Dwarf King did say a part of the truth, that isn't the whole of it. Kaijin replied. Hakura and the other Oni nodded to this. Rimuru-sama, for example, I have no problem telling lies. Me too. Actually, I'm pretty good at it. Sui and Benimaru added. That means? In other words. According to their explanation, only monsters of spontaneous birth have trouble lying. Those born of parents are not as restricted. Besides, what the Dwarf King was referring to was a case of pledge magic on top of swearing upon your very existence. I shouldn't have ignored to inquire about it from the great sage. While the demons are truly restricted, the normal monsters aren't so. Which is why Milim can go lying all she want. That's what it would mean. Hakura nodded. In that case, what should we do? However, she doesn't seem to intend to cause trouble, and, even if she did, we couldn't stop her, can we? I agreed with that analysis. Even with all of us working together, we'd fail. Right. Let's let her do what she wants, and if worst comes to worst, we'll have Rimuru-sama stop her. They are close friends, after all. No objections. What? Benimaru, you bastard. By the time I thought that it was already too late. My usual, leave it to others, policy seems to have come back to haunt me. Can't be helped, I thought, and let out a sigh. And thus, everyone came to believe that I was in charge of supervising Demon Lord Milim. So ended the first day of Hurricane Milim. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tensei Shitara Slime Taken, WN. Chapter 50, Frontier Garrison. Translator's Corner, Cast, a French Pierrot and a produce clerk. Clerk, oh, San. How are you doing? Pierrot, Oh, came to buy some groceries. What's fresh today? Clerk, just had some salmon and cod delivered. Oh, but I would recommend the sori, you always liked that one, didn't you? Pierrot, did I? Clerk, though I guess that was before that. Oh sorry, you must not want to remember it. Pierrot, no, it's no problem. That reminds me of a good joke. What did a father tomato say to the baby tomato whilst walking in a park? Clerk, what? Pierrot, ketchup. Clerk, oh, haha. I guess you've become more humorous now. You've always been so serious, well, I guess such an incident would change anybody. Pierrot, now that I think about it though. Did the father tomato threaten to turn the baby tomato into ketchup? Or was a baby tomato hit by a car and turned into ketchup? Hit by a car? Clerk, did you say something? Another customer's calling me. I hope everything's going well. I'll stop by to visit later. We're friends, after all. Life in the royal capital. 050. Frontier Garrison. The morning of the following day started with great tribulations. First thing in the morning I woke Milim up. Her expression grumpy, I had her change to look presentable. The new clothing she wore was the one she had requested yesterday, and it came out pretty well. The gothic dress was probably difficult to move in, hence the reason for her request. Why does a demon lord need to wake up so early in the morning? She was grumbling haughtily, but her mood improved by breakfast. Children really are simple. While she was eating, I was busy thinking. I don't particularly mind becoming her supervisor, but I want to go to a human city. So, should I bring her along? I kind of have a bad feeling about doing that. No, let me rephrase, it's bound to lead to a disaster. To bring such a dangerous child to a place she's never been before, well, it's not that I can't, it's that I won't. But even so, leaving her here is bad for my heart. While Milim is visiting I should probably abstain from leaving for human cities. After we finished breakfast, I took Milim to the smithy. I took on my human form and wore a mask, since, as a slime, I wouldn't be able to try out a weapon. And once we reached it, I greeted Kurobi. Is the thing I asked for yesterday ready? Oh. This one, right? Should be good for Milim-sama's personal use. He said, showing me the finished product. Yesterday, he had measured the size of Milim's hands after being asked to make her something. It's dragon knuckles. The point of such gloves would be to prevent injury when punching barehanded and to increase the force of the blow, normally. That's not why we gave her the gloves. No, our goal was the exact opposite. The light but dense demon steel is actually surrounded by a shock-absorbing material. Right. When she equips this, her blow will be reduced to only 10% of its norm. And we used demon steel in hopes of attaching a regenerative effect to them. The best part of it all will be the decrease in her destructive power. Milim, try this on. I pass the dragon knuckles to Milim, who, clearly excited, happily accepts them. And she quickly puts them on. She lightly throws some punches in the air. Oh. This is great. My hands feel really light. Alright, seems to be working. If her hands feel light, I guess her power should have decreased a bit. And for myself, I took a newly developed sword. The last one I had broke myself, so I had them repair it. I had tried copying it myself, but even if it looked identical, its performance was clearly different. Seems copying an item is impossible when the creator's skills are too high. Even if it looks the same, even if my appraising ability claims they are the same, there are nonetheless small differences. I draw the sword to check. Amazing. Kurobe's ability is truly something. I wish I could finally get a sword specialized for my use. Seems like they still need to work on that. I am not getting impatient, but I am looking forward to it. Nodding, I put the sword back into the scabbard. The moment Milim and I acquired our weapons, Rigurdo came running over. How well he runs. Rimuru-sama, this is where you were. An unknown group has come. From what he told me, we have an armed squad near the city. Among them are the 3 adventurers. Somehow, the 3 idiots managed bringing an armed group over. Why are so many problems occurring now? Those idiots, so I thought, but... Well, let's go meet them. I said, and headed to the place where Rigurdo left them. And as if it was the most natural thing in the world, Milim followed. When I arrived, I saw Rigurdo and the guards surrounding 10 or so armed men. They are all dressed similarly. However, their equipment seems rather poor, and their ability likewise. Our equipment is worlds superior. Nonetheless, among them are a man and a woman with clearly superior equipment. And not just their equipment, their skills also seem pretty high. And of course, the 3 idiots. When they saw me. Oh. Rimuru-dana, it's been a while. Howdy. We came to hang out. It's been ages. Things happened, so there's more of us. They greeted me. Things happened, huh. Seems like they are the cause of this incident. Yo. So, who might these people be? About that. They explained the details. During his introduction, the man named Yuma kept looking at us while on guard. When the idiots finished. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Pharma's Kingdom, Count's Domain, Frontier Garrison Captain Yuma's the name. We heard that monsters built a city here, so we came to check. I heard the chief of the city is a slime, could I meet it? He greeted us thus. Ah, please pardon the belated introduction. I am the head of this city and its representative. I am known as Rimuru Tempest. Though I currently appear thus, I am, in fact, a slime. I responded. Is that how it was? Pardon my rudeness. Cabal had mentioned that Rimuru is the name of the head, but I was misled by you being called a slime, you see. Your human transformation is simply marvelous. Whether flattery or not I don't know, but he seems intent on praising me. I wonder if monsters capable of human transformation are rare? Not that it matters right now. Be that as it may. Are monsters capable of transforming into humans rare? Actually, forget that question, what would be your business today? Ah, about that. Our goal was to confirm the report. There has never been a case of monsters building a city before, you see. Moreover, should that report prove true, there's the possibility that you will pose a threat to our country. Thus, considering that the city truly exists, we must confirm whether or not you could pose a threat to us. Could we possibly impose upon you our presence? I see. However, if we were intending on becoming your enemies and were such a terrifying city, how could we let you stay here? Upon hearing my retort, the man named Yuma scratched his head. Ah, damn it. I'll just tell you the truth. Frankly, I didn't believe there was a city of monsters here. Now I know I was wrong. And, according to these 3 adventurers, you've got really good living conditions around here. Please allow our stay and the stationing of troops here. He said in one breath. And to the three idiots. I apologize for doubting you. He deeply bowed his head in apology. I had planned to observe him for a while, but maybe it's alright to consider him an honest guy. Phew. Didn't we tell you? Well, as long as you understand. It doesn't do to always suspect people. For some reason, Ellen proudly responded. The other two were expressing their approval of her words or happiness at finally arriving. Well, he doesn't seem like a bad guy, but approving their presence is a different matter. Regarding stationing your troops here, for what purpose? Yuma faced me and began explaining their situation. Their unit was established by Pharma's Kingdom's Count to protect the villages against monsters. They are composed of 30 members in 3 divisions. From where we stood, they could easily access the highway and nearby villages. Moreover, if we lay roads to the highway, we'd be saving time and establishing a trade route. Of course, we will offer our labor towards that end. He ended with a proposal. Even if it's possible to get here on horseback, the same is not true for carriages. We hadn't cleared any trees in the direction of the highway. We didn't want to stand out at the time, but that was before the earlier orc incident. Now that the forest has begun to calm down, we should think about opening a trade route. So perhaps it might be a good idea to accept his proposal. Since it's bad taste to continue such discussion on our feet, I guided everyone to the cafeteria. Though our menu selection is still limited, it is nonetheless delicious. Since we unfortunately are low on salt, pepper, and other seasoning, we can't offer any subtle spicing. Or so I'd say if not for Shana's godly cooking skills. That is, hers and that of her apprentice chef's goblinas. The number of goblinas has been steadily increasing. The security and order of the city is maintained by men while women take care of household matters and cooking. Since they have their individual talents, they spread themselves among cooking, cleaning, education, sewing, assistance, and other professions. Their efficiency can be primarily attributed to Rigurdo's skill at governing. After switching to the cafeteria, we continued our discussion. Amusingly, Milim sat next to me. It's kind of cute how carefully she handles her dragon knuckles. By the way, Remuradana, whose daughter would she be? Cabal went and asked. Milim reacted to being called a daughter, but exercised self-restraint. Good word choice, Cabal. Can't forget that this cafeteria has the bomb named Milim. Oh, a guest. A really important person, so treat her with utmost respect, okay? I warned them ahead of time. If they ignore my warning, they'll have only themselves to blame. Not my problem then. I am Milim. Pleased to meet you. Though Milim so simply introduced herself, let's not forget she is a cruel demon lord. She is so adorable, however, that she certainly deceived them all. But a man and a woman, whose equipment was much better than the rest, had a worried expression on their faces. Actually, rather than expression, it's the air around them, it changed slightly. They looked at Milim with complete disbelief. Did they find her out? No, there's no way that would be true. So I thought until I looked closer at the two. Huh? Why are 2 devils disguising themselves as humans among them? Yes, the 2 of them are devils. A simple human transformation could not fool my magic perception. From what Yuma said, they joined them halfway. Infiltration, is that it? Hey, 2 devils infiltrated the city, be on your guard. I announced using thought transmission. Well, it's fine as long as they don't do anything funny. Remura-sama, considering that they showed up at the same time as Demon Lord Milim, could they be connected somehow? I am of the same opinion, Remura-sama. A ploy to make us lower our guard. Nope. I wouldn't do something that annoying. Milim made her way into my thought transmission network. She seems to have figured out our frequency and forced her way in. What an absurd thing to do. Even if I make it sound so simple, make no mistake, it requires an absurdly high level of skill. Hey you, did you just break into our network? Phew fun. That kind of thing is easy for me. But let bygones be bygones. Those 2 have no relation to me. But you know them. Eh? I don't. Well, whatever. Just stay on your guard, everyone. Though they aren't related, they are acquainted it seems. No need to force her to say it if she doesn't want to. It's enough to know what we need to stay vigilant against. While I was conversing thus, everyone was busy with self-introductions. And that seems to have ended a second ago. Now that everyone introduced themselves, let's get to the heart of the matter. The main question was whether to allow them to establish a base here, but, before that, they need to clarify something. I should be considering this a personal request of Yumu-san, shouldn't I? Yes, that would be accurate. In fact, the country will not know of this. Why? Though there's a bunch of reasons, frankly, I hate the feudal lord. Our employer, Count Nidally Matum, is no decent man. The kind of guy who prioritizes personal benefit over that of the people. He's greedy, and rough with his men. Though he levies a heavy tax on the people in return for protection, the garrison sees none of it. The worst kind of man. Well, as someone who badmouths his employer, I am no decent man either. In any case, as a result, we are severely understaffed. If we set up a base here we could easily access the surrounding villages. But, if we report this, he's bound to meddle with your city. The clothing you produce is your specialty, right? It's worlds better than what his city produces, you know? Well, this is considered neutral zone, so I can't imagine him moving independently, but... I see. A greedy feudal lord. A common setting. Yes, I wouldn't want to have to deal with such a gloomy character. But considering how frankly Yumu explains all this, he must be serious. He seriously wants to set up a base here. To earn my trust, he's speaking only the truth. Our conversation continued. After Rigurdo and the ONI voiced their opinions, we passed our decision. We decided to let them use a single empty house. Of course, should they cause problems, we will immediately evict them. Moreover, we'll be collecting money for their meals. That we decided to include after hearing Kaijin's opinion. A single night for a single person costs 3 silver coins. The average rate at a city for a sunny room is between 5-8 coins. A single room at an inn could be as low as 3 coins. That includes a single simple meal. Staying without a meal will cost between 1-2 coins. The imperial capital would easily be 5 times as expensive. By the way, 100 silver coins is equal to a single gold one. I still have the 20 gold pieces I got from Kaido. By our standards, a single silver coin equals 1,000 yen, and a single gold coin is 100,000 yen. Though monetary value also depends on item costs and such, well, in any case, Kaido seems to have spent a lot. That's only expected considering the value of the medicine, however. Well, it should be enough to kickstart our economy. 3 coins is too high, please lower it slightly. Yumu began negotiating the cost. Listen up, the room includes 3 meals a day, and a bath. If you have a problem, we'll lend you a storage house instead, how about it? There we'll charge a single silver coin, but no meals. Yumu pondered Kaijin's words, but gave up in the end. He probably remembered the meal he just ate. And thus, we lent out lodging to Pharma's Kingdom's Count's domain garrison guard led by Yumu. We also let them use the first floor of the guardhouse as their office. Yumu's group brought in their equipment there. Seems like they use a magic communicator type of thing that allows them to contact individual units. However, unfortunately, they can only speak for 3 minutes every hour. The magic cost is simply so high that so they can't supply enough. Thus it's mostly used to rely unit orders or for emergency situations. An expensive piece of equipment, they seem to only have 6 of those. That's also due to how cheap their employer is. Including the 2 newcomers, the human squad is composed of 32 people. From where they are located, well, here as of now, they can reach every village within a day. They've gotten much more efficient as a result, it seems. They've also gotten used to life here. After Yumu contacted them via the magic communicator, they all assembled here. A merry bunch they are. Please take care of us from now on. They all shouted. Our pleasure. However, should you cause any trouble, I can't guarantee your lives. So be careful, okay? I threw in a light threat in there. Though we're clearly monsters, they were on their guard only for the first few minutes. but let's not allow them to let their guard down so much that they cause a ruckus here. Though they seem like a bunch of good guys, so maybe I'm worrying too much. As planned, I then introduced Yuma to Ragur. After we explained how far our defense network spans, the frontier garrison decided to fill in the holes between us and the villages. Since there's a lot of room to spare, a single unit can work on building a road. And the Free High Orc Construction Division will be sent to help them with that. Thus, albeit very unexpectedly, Yuma's group became familiar with our city. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible.